Zhuo Fan's strength is no longer a secret, but showing power only invites stronger monsters to test it. Pride, speed, bloodline, and reputation all crash into his path as rivals who once looked untouchable begin to learn what happens when the demonic emperor stops holding back. Subscribe now to follow the domination arc, because every opponent who underestimates Zhuo Fan becomes another warning to the rest. In the Demonic Emperor Part 11, Zhuo Fan faces challengers who believe their talent puts them above everyone else. But as his methods grow sharper and his enemies grow desperate, one brutal lesson becomes clear. The gap between genius and monster is wider than they imagined. Is the Soaring Demonic Dragon truly dead? I mean, this would never have happened if he wasn't, unless of course he is the biggest coward out there. Giving others a mocking glance, he punctuated with a sneer. Luo Yuncheng's heart trembled. He's after Zhuo Fan. The guy assumed Zhuo Fan was watching from the shadows around here somewhere and decided to stage this play to draw him out, when in fact the reality was much, much crueler. Zhuo Fan wasn't even here to begin with. The Luo clan wallowed in mourning, and Luo Yuncheng snapped back in indignation. Since when did an outsider get the rights to butt into the affairs of our steward? Ha, looks like you hold Zhuo Fan in quite a high regard. Although would it even make that much of a difference if he were here? A nobody who some no-name clans call Soaring Demonic Dragon, one who can barely stand up to our level, the level of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, doesn't deserve my attention. With a spark of cruelty in his eyes, Lin Xuanfeng flashed right in front of Luo Yuncheng's face. The group jerked back in fright. He's so fast, too fast, they didn't even sense him move, especially Lei Yunchen, who sucked in a cold breath. Both were of an equal stage in strength, that of the profound heaven. And common knowledge told him a difference in speed could exist, but not to the extent of a gulf. Yet Lin Xuanfeng's brazen display proved that the 6 dragons were in a league of their own, even if they were only profound heaven experts. Snickering, Lin Xuanfeng touched the smooth and delicate chin of the frightened Luo Yuncheng. Young Miss Luo, if we were to take this somewhere private, wouldn't that steward Zhuo end up working under me in the end? Are you willing to come along? Don't touch my sister, Luo Yunhai snapped, sending a flying kick at him. Lei Yunchen and Captain Pang joined him by punching. Lei Yunchen flickered like lightning, while the dark energy around Captain Pang turned him into an unstoppable raging machine. Get your filthy hands off young miss. Lin Xuanfeng couldn't care less about their bravado, to the point he even disregarded them completely. With Lei Yunchen leading the charge, Lin Xuanfeng simply swished his wrist and Captain Pang tumbled forward. Captain Pang rammed into Lei Yunchen and the 2 coughed blood in their flight. To the mere 3rd layer of bone tempering Luo Yunhai, this was even more disdainful. A simple rise of his leg followed by a casual step ended the kid's attack. Luo Yunhai's wailed out of pain from having his leg bone bend under the guy's foot. Luo Yuncheng rushed over Yunhai. She didn't make it, however, as Lin Xuanfeng was quick in seizing her wrist and grinning like a demon. Young Miss Luo, will you cooperate now? Luo Yuncheng bit her lip, her eyes teary as she clenched her fists in hatred. Seeing her so stubborn, Lin Xuanfeng snickered as he put more weight on his foot. Luo Yunhai made his pain known again, but he cut off his screams abruptly despite the agony. He chose to hold it in, although it was clear from his purple face that it took all he had not to keep screaming. He couldn't scream, or his sister would have no choice but to agree, and the Luo clan's name would go up in flames. His training in the Dugu army taught him how to shed away the weak young master persona and become a true man of principle. Oh, quite the tough one I see. Raising an eyebrow, Lin Xuanfeng eyed him viciously and put more power in his stomp. The sound of crushed bone jarred everyone's ears, but Luo Yunhai only gnashed his teeth as sweat soaked him. No matter how much it hurt, how pale he got, he didn't make a sound. Lei Yunchen and Captain Pang were enraged at this, yet couldn't even twitch as their bodies were seriously hurt as well. As for those profound heaven fakes, they were rooted in place and shivering from pain. They had no intention of showing off anymore. After biting the dust once, they simply closed their eyes shut. Even as imperial guards, they had never offended the 7 houses, least of all now. Although the young guards had guts, even they'd think twice after being knocked out cold from just one slap. Luo Yuncheng felt her brother's pain, so much so her teeth were threatening to break under the strain of her clenched jaw. She was caught in the middle, whether to choose her clan's honor or save her younger brother from the torment. Lin Xuanfeng roared as he yanked her wrist. Talk. Are you going to give in and make me Zhuo Fan's master or not? Humph, are you worthy? Luo Yuncheng scoffed back. Compared to him, you're nothing but discarded dung, unfit to even carry his shoes. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes twitched and he backhanded her. Have it your way then, skank. Luo Yuncheng showed no fear at the incoming blow. The others wanted to help but were unable to even move. All they could do was watch him humiliate their young miss. Whoosh, and right then, a white ribbon shot at Lin Xuanfeng. He was forced to give up on his attack and flickered away. The ribbon passed through the air and went back. The source was tens of meters away from the Luo clan's siblings. Lin Xuanfeng spat back as he watched the white ribbon fly away. Ascending Ice Phoenix Chu Qingcheng, this is none of your damn business. Beat it, Humph, Drifting Flowers City will never allow anyone to harass women. A white figure along with Iris and Peony overseers walked over. Her elegance and her demeanor both pictured her as a celestial. Not even her veil could mask the outstanding beauty she possessed, to the extent that it left even Luo Yuncheng speechless. Is this Chu Qingcheng? She's just like a goddess. Then she noticed the two overseers and her whole face lit up, Sister Iris, Sister Peony. When Zhuo Fan was reported missing, perhaps because they were all women, while meeting with her allies, Luo Yuncheng and the two hit it off. The two liked Luo Yuncheng as well, treating her like an angel. Unlike that devious and devilish Zhuo Fan, it was only natural that the three were practically sisters now. The overseers rushed to her in worry. Yuncheng, are you all right? Luo Yuncheng nodded her head with a smile and went to help her brother and Captain Pang. The overseers supplied them with pills to offer relief. Chu Qingcheng only stared daggers at Lin Xuanfeng. Lin Xuanfeng scratched his nose as he said in good nature, Chu Qingcheng, this is no Drifting Flowers City, so try to keep your nose out of another's business. Habit, Chu Qingcheng scoffed and chuckled in mockery. Lin Xuanfeng laughed back coldly. Then you'll have to forgive me for what I'm about to do. Lin Xuanfeng flickered, putting Luo Yuncheng and her group on edge. Iris and Peony overseers held her hand to ease her worries. Only this time, Chu Qingcheng intervened. A white mist rose between her hands, swiftly spreading around. Wherever the mist passed, a layer of ice formed. Lin Xuanfeng slowly became suspicious as the mist coiled around his figure. His speed was clearly affected as everyone had no trouble seeing him anymore. Shocked, Lin Xuanfeng got some distance between them. He trembled a bit and the ice sheet on him crumbled off, but the fear in his eyes was more than apparent. Frost Domain, did your soul reach the radiant stage? Lin Xuanfeng cried incredulously. He felt how Chu Qingcheng's frost spread along her discerning field and acted as a barrier. Any that stepped foot in it would find it impossible to escape her notice, regardless of speed. It was a sign of imminent breakthrough into the radiant stage. Once her frost domain became an invisible divine sense, that would be when she'd attain the true form of discerning field. And just like Zhuo Fan, she had the prospect of entering the radiant stage. As for killing with intent, it wasn't that far away either. His face growing colder, Lin Xuanfeng said, I heard you wasted 10 years of your cultivation. Who knew you'd recover so fast? Chu Qingcheng, you are worthy of being among the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, albeit barely. I extend my admiration, then get lost if you know what's good for you. I am in no mood of stirring something up before the true battle between the 7 houses. Chu Qingcheng glanced over. Lin Xuanfeng was pissed and his face was a mask of hatred. Then he broke out into a grin, accompanied by him snickering, Chu Qingcheng, you're a bit full of yourself. Not even you are enough to deal with me. Whoosh. With a boom, Chu Qingcheng felt a wind on her back and felt a slap coming her way. The 2 palms met and Chu Qingcheng put all her power in it to repel the attacker. When she noticed her palm, it was covered in green. It was lucky that she had formed a layer of ice beforehand. The ice made from Yuan Qi fell on the ground, sizzling like acid and releasing a foul stench. Chu Qingcheng held her nose and jumped back startled. What dreadful poison! Looking up, she noticed the attacker was a man with half his face purple and said, Plague Dragon Yan Bangi. Ha ha ha, you old poisoner, about time you showed up. Any later and I'd have had to go all out. Lin Xuanfeng roared in laughter, walking next to Yan Bangi while raising a taunting look at Chu Qingcheng. Yan Bangi was simply silent. The only sign he had that seemed to acknowledge the man was the bloodthirsty cold stare. Heart jumping, Chu Qingcheng grew serious. 6 dragons and 1 phoenix's power was the strongest in the profound heaven stage. Besides Huangpu Qingshan, there wasn't much of a difference in the other 6's power. She could deal with Forest Fleeting Dragon, Lin Xuanfeng, but her hands were tied with Yan Bangi in the mix. The others picked up on this and grew nervous. Lin Xuanfeng puffed up his chest and laughed. Ha ha ha, Ascending Ice Phoenix, now that we are 2 against 1, I reckon what your chances will be. Chu Qingcheng tightened her fists in response. Ha ha ha, you're among the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, yet you have no shame going 2 against 1. What will you say to 3 against 2 then? The others jerked and saw Long Xingyun and Zai Tiansheng's groups arriving. Zhu Ningxiang looked at Luo Yuncheng. She gathered her courage and showed a bashful smile. Young Miss Luo, are you all right? Luo Yuncheng chuckled a nod but was quite perplexed. Who is this girl? I don't even know her, so why does she care so much about me? But when she noticed the thunder ring, she realized that Zhuo Fan wore the same one. That ring. This is our engagement ring. Zai Tianyang buted in, showing his own without an ounce of shame. It was precisely for this occasion that he had Zhuo Fan make one for him as well. Glaring at him, Zhu Ningxiang stammered an explanation. Young Miss Luo, don't misunderstand. This is nothing between us. Brother Zhu simply gave a token to each of us. Oh, I see. Luo Yuncheng nodded in disappointment and vexation. That guy never gave me anything. Chu Qingcheng's ears perked up and she whipped her head back, feeling quite down herself. Grandmother said he is heartless, yet he suddenly grew a conscience. Humph, damn philanderer. Long Xingyan got next to Chu Qingcheng and stared at their opponents. I wonder who among you will spar with me. Humph, stand back and leave them all to me. Zai Tiansheng stepped in front, his sword sheath moved and his piercing gaze landed on his enemies. Like sharp blades, the two had a very real cold and sharp feeling on their necks. Long Xingyan almost facepalmed. This guy's martial fanatic obsession is out again. Though this is a very good opportunity to see how reliable he really is. While their side got bolstered, the enemy's side was tense. Now that the tables had turned, they were the ones at a disadvantage. Ha ha ha, it's 3-on-3 in fact. A laughter followed when a gray figure popped out before Lin Xuanfeng. Their tension eased. Chu Qingcheng frowned and spat. Spectre Dragon, Yu Yushin? It is I. Yu Yushin nodded and turned to his own allies. Eldest young master was right. 6 dragons and 1 phoenix were bound to fight earlier. Ha ha ha, in this case we are even. What's there to fear? Lin Xuanfeng cackled, having recovered his cockiness. Chu Qingcheng's side waited solemnly. With a metallic sound, Zai Tiansheng's sword left its sheath. You too, pick someone else. These 3 are mine. Young Master Zai, can you take them on all by yourself? Chu Qingcheng frowned in worry. Hardening his gaze, Zai Tiansheng made up his mind. How else can I challenge Huangpu Qingshan? Brother Zai, I don't care about the other 2, but leave Yu Yushin to me. Long Xingyan stepped up with a hard face. Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Hell Valley's grudges can only be settled amongst ourselves. Ha ha ha, perfect. I was thinking the same thing. Let's see what Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Abyss Dragon is made of. I'll make sure whether Hell Valley has overestimated you or not. Yu Yushin laughed, with sparks flying as their gazes met. The scene was close to a breaking point. It was missing but a spark to devolve in an all-out war. But then a shout came, stop, whoosh. 4 men appeared between the 2 sides, eliciting murmurs from the others. 4 tigers of Tianyu. Seniors, Marshal Dugu forbids any grudge fights in Dragon Cloud City. The 7 houses are no exception. Please comply. Dugu Feng cupped his hands at the 6, his tone very cold. And yet another shout came, Brother Yunhai. Dugu Hu noticed Luo Yunhai on the ground and knew at a glance that his leg was broken. His short temper was already burning as he raved. Who did this? 3rd brother, it was Lin Xuanfeng. Luo Yuncheng spoke in a pleading voice. Please, elder brother, help us. Dugu Huo's face heated up as he roared like a beast. Anyone who harms our family is dead. Eldest brother, quiet. Dugu Feng cut him off with a glare, then continued. I hope that we can all let this matter rest. If Marshal were to step in himself, it won't simply end with words. The rest stared at him fixedly, then nodded slowly. Dugu Zhanshan was the 2nd of the 4 pillars. They had to show him some respect after all. Fine, it's such a pity though that I didn't get to show them my prowess. We'll just have to wait for the decisive battle of the houses then. Lin Xuanfeng shrugged and mocked. They hadn't lost in this exchange anyway. The rest looked at each other and nodded as well. Dugu Feng eased his breath and walked to Luo Yunhai. Yunhai, please forgive me. No, I understand that the eldest brother had to dissolve the situation. Luo Yunhai's eyes were firm. Past 5 years in the Dugu army had him grown accustomed to the meaning of military. In order to reach an objective, sometimes personal honor had to be sacrificed. Taking a deep breath, Dugu Feng patted his shoulder, feeling his pain as well. His little brother was pushed around, and what did the eldest brother do? Nothing, all because of his orders. He was a soldier first and foremost, a Dugu army's general. The other tigers sighed as well, filled with just as much rage as him. Oh, isn't the situation over yet? A sudden voice came, lofty as an emperor's. Carrying might with every word, they all turned to see the most dreadful among the 6 dragons. Heaven-shaking Dragon Lord Huangpu Qingshan. Eldest young master, this is what happened. Lin Xuanfeng looked like a dog as he explained in brief. Huangpu Qingshan nodded, yet his face was always calm. He stepped forward and said, since Zhuo Fan is a no-show, hurry up and kill the Luo clan. If such a crucial event doesn't warrant his coming, he must be dead for sure. The others jerked in fright. Huangpu Qingshan was going to go against Dugu Zhanshan's orders and kill the Luo clan. Young Master Huangpu, Marshal is against any grudge fights. Are you? Dugu Feng blocked his path and shouted, but Huangpu Qingshan only had disdain for his attempt. Grudge fight, war, they all describe armed conflicts between 2 equally strong sides. But none of you are even worthy of a grudge fight, so erasing someone weak doesn't violate any order. Such crass, the people were shocked once again by this man's egotistical behavior. Whoosh. Suddenly, a sword light came down from above, straight for Huangpu Qingshan. Zai Tiansheng was filled with fighting spirit as he shouted, Huangpu Qingshan, I've waited 10 years for this. Flowing spaces, 9 forms splitting heaven, 10 years, then you waited for nothing. He walked just like before, and yet in the face of the upcoming sword attack, he only replied with a casual palm attack. Boom. The sword wave splintered, and an almighty power slammed into Zai Tianqing's chest and sent him flying while coughing blood. The way Huangpu Qingshan put away his hand was as if he flicked away a pest, a mosquito so casual, so dismissive. Not even his gait changed. SSS all watched in stunned silence how he dominated Zai Tianqing. Not even Zai Tianyang conceived it possible for his invincible brother to be so easily dealt with by heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. Everyone said Huangpu Qingshan was a monster, but how could there be such discrepancy from the rest of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix? The others couldn't even put up any resistance. The hearts of everyone sank in despair. Huangpu Qingshan was an untamable mountain as he stepped towards them. Although slow, his step carried such power that it was as if he was stepping on everyone's hearts, crushing their spirit and will. The heavy pressure pressed down on all, and they flinched back again and again. Yet Huangpu Qingshan was still strolling forward, like a king on a mission. The air was excruciatingly thick. Hard to even breathe, the dread on everyone's face only increased with every sound of Huangpu Qingshan's steps. Monster, it was on everyone's mind, yet none dared say it. Lin Xuanfeng Yan Bangi. And Yu Yushan observed coldly. The stronger Huangpu Qingshan was, the more at ease they were and respectful. Huangpu Qingshan, think this through or you will suffer the consequences. Du Gufeng wiped his brow. Among his peers in Tianyu, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord was the first to scare this leader of tigers. Nodding, Huangpu Qingshan never missed a beat. Relax, I'm not after you. The 5 tigers' lives, I still have to show consideration for Marshal Dugu, as long as you come out unharmed. He will not charge into Regent Estate, so taking Luo clan's young Miss Head with me won't make that old geezer snap. The 4 tigers felt eerily afraid and worried. Huangpu Qingshan was not only high on his horse, but quite astute as well, a schemer and plotter. He grasped Dugu Zhanshan's bottom line and knew when to stop just shy from it, even if he was about to cause a massacre. Correct. Dugu Zhanshan cared most about his 5 godsons. He was tough on them, true, but he cherished them dearly as well, if anything were to happen to them. The old guy would flip and march his army regardless of consequences. Everyone had a bottom line and the second of 4 pillars. Marshal of 3rd Army was no exception. Even though Luo Yuncheng was the dear sister of his 5th godson, not even for her would he go into action. She had nothing to do with him. Knowing this, Huangpu Qingshan acted unrestrained and unfeeling to others. Young Miss Luo. Run, go find the marshals, you'll be safe there. Go while we hold him off, Dugulin whispered. Luo Yuncheng was worried for Luo Yunhai. Dugulin said, don't worry. Yunhai is our brother and godfather's godson. Huangpu Qingshan won't ever touch him. Go. We won't be able to hold him for long. Luo Yuncheng took one last look at her brother and nodded. She was relieved but still hesitant. Just then, a soft hand grabbed her into a run, looking back. It was actually Zhu Ningxiang, Sister Luo. Brother Zhu always called me a burden. Let's see him say that again after I save his clan's young miss. Zhu Ningxiang stuck out her charming and cute nose as she smiled, seeing this cutie. Luo Yuncheng's worries drifted out of her. She didn't know how Zhuo Fan got to meet this girl, but the girl was like an angel, easing her worries. Lin Xuanfeng snickered from afar. Running, is it? Did you ask me first? Wait. Don't sour the eldest young master's mood. Yu Yushan blocked him with a sneer. He now realized that without Huangpu Qingshan's explicit approval, none could do anything, when the man was on the prowl. Only horror would have awaited him for meddling with his hunt. Lin Xuanfeng wiped his brow and nodded. Yu Yushan beamed in reply. Thanks, dude, if not for you. I would have been a goner, no thanks necessary. I'm not doing it for you either. With Huangpu Qingshan's temper, I fear you'll take me down with you. Yu Yushan snickered, back to Huangpu Qingshan. He didn't much care if the 2 girls broke into a run and shook his head. A hare always thinks it can outrun its hunter, only to find its efforts go in vain. Huangpu Qingshan punctuated with chasing after the 2. The 4 tigers rushed to intercept with 4 palms, wind, forest, fire. Mountain Imperial Army. Star Reader, Chinese letter, 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 Chinese letter is original, if you have a better suggestion. I'm all ears, boom, as if a dam broke, the power swept everything like a literal army. Although it was only 4 palms, it was as if tens of men joined hands. Not even Huangpu Qingshan could ignore it. Feeling the sudden and forceful might boring down on him, Huangpu Tianyuan's grinned, a formation, a pity it's too low grade, and he punched without any preamble. Just this plain punch contained almost godly power. The boom sent the 4 tigers flying as they bled from their mouths. Now they felt on their own skin why Zai Tianqing was so badly wounded after just one attack. Because Huangpu Qingshan was no human. How can our peer? in both age and cultivation, have such power, but the crux of it all was their so-called stalling was pointless. Hyunpu Kingshan simply barreled through them unimpeded in his chase after Luo Yuncheng. It was as if stepping on ants in passing. Whoosh! Suddenly, a whistle announced the incoming claw attack. Below Hyunpu Kingshan's belt, it was so devious, so snaky. It caused everyone to gasp. Veiled Dragon Claw, Star Reader, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. I have no clue if it's a declaration of an attack or Hyunpu saying it's useless. Long Xingyun's eyes glinted as he arrived in the man's path. Hyunpu Kingshan laughed coldly. Veiled Dragon Pavilion gets worse by the day. You only got so far through underhanded and crafty methods. He, and this is what I know best, Long Xingyun snickered. Not minding it in the least, Hyunpu Kingshan disregarded him and was planning on kicking him away. It was then he found it odd that his leg didn't move. A shining ice sheet crept up his legs and rooted him in place. He then saw a dainty palm, filled with mist shooting from above. Chu Qingcheng, unable to move, Long Xingyun clawed him from below. And Chu Qingcheng attacked from above. It was the perfect combo to subdue an enemy's movements while also unleashing a pincer attack. Squinting, Hyunpu Kingshan snorted fearlessly. I see, you laid a trap for me with Frost Domain while the 4 tigers blocked my path. Not bad at all, I will give you that much, but, Pa. Pa, 2 loud noises echoed as Chu Qingcheng's palm slammed into his head and Long Xingyun's claw hit from below. Although despicable, it was a strong attack nonetheless. And yet, no one expected what happened next. 2 peak profound heaven experts could do nothing against one with equal cultivation. Chu Qingcheng and Long Xingyun stared in shock and sucked a cold breath. Just how strong is this monster? Hyunpu Kingshan curled his lips. A pity you are too weak and overestimate your strength. Despite his words, his eyes flashed. Then with a boom, his body exploded in a golden light and roared like a dragon. A golden dragon rose from him, sending the pair flying and coughing blood. It then circled back into his body. What is that thing? Long Xingyun watched Hyunpu Kingshan perturbed, as did the rest. It was as if his body held a guardian, grinning. Hyunpu Kingshan mocked, it is the heritage of an emperor. You are not worthy to know. Hyunpu Kingshan then chose to ignore him, leaving him sitting on the ground in shock and bleeding at the mouth. Whoosh, with no one left to block him. Hyunpu Kingshan went after the girls. They looked back in shock to find Chu Qingcheng, Zai Tiansheng, and Luo Yuncheng, as well as the 4 tigers of Tianyu wounded on the ground and unable to even get up on their feet, despite the intense fight. It only took a second. The gap was so insanely wide that all that effort didn't stall Hyunpu Kingshan for even a fraction of a second. How is there such discrepancy between him and the other 5 dragons and 1 phoenix? The 2 were now panicking from fright. Hyunpu Kingshan was like a relentless monster. No one seemed to be able to escape his clutches. Ninger. Watch out, Zai Tianyang roared as he and Long Jai with Long Kui jumped in front. But what could they do when 5 dragons and 1 phoenix could do nothing? The answer, nothing. With a mere flick, Hyunpu Kingshan sent them flying, landing heavily on the ground. Snickering, Hyunpu Kingshan extended his hand. Young Miss Luo, this palm of mine will splatter the both of you. If Zhuo Fan doesn't show even now, he is definitely dead. Or maybe just a lily-livered good-for-nothing coward. Rubbish, you're the real coward. Brother Zhu is a hero, Ninger cursed. Luo Yuncheng was giving her all to run, but still nodded at Ninger's words, grinning. Hyunpu Kingshan mocked, I hope so too, but at this point he seems likelier dead than alive. Hyunpu Kingshan struck with his palm. It looked casual, but the might behind it was that of a mountain. The girls were scared to even run, watching the incoming palm with fear. Everyone wanted to help them, somehow save them. But no one had the strength. Sister, Luo Yunai cried and crawled. Ninger, Zai Tianyang was doing the same with clenched teeth. Hyunpu Kingshan looked on coldly as his attack approached the girls. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan is really dead after all. A shame you all had to die for nothing. As he defied Regent Estate. I had no choice but to waste my time with this puny Luo clan. You only have Zhuo Fan to blame for your fates. It was he who cut your young lives short. Luo Yuncheng and Ninger remained silent. Zai Tianyang punched the ground. Reminded of how powerless he was back in Blue Expanse City and cursed, that bastard Zhuo Fan. Why does he always wash his hands off every offense he ever does? Now Ninger is giving her life away for nothing, bastard. Come out if you have any shred of conscience. Lin Xuanfeng's group found his cursing entertaining, so Zhuo Fan really is dead, or this would never have happened. No. Zhuo Fan is not dead, Luo Yuncheng shouted back. Hyunpu Kingshan's attack was about to hit the girls. Then call him out, show me that he's alive, but it's too late now, no one can save you from my attack. Tears streamed Luo Yuncheng's face. Zhuo Fan, if you can hear me. Please come, at least let me see you one last time. She was on the brink of death, yet no response came. Lin Xuanfeng's group laughed harder at her futile attempt and treated her like a fool. Ninger held her close instead. even if her heart had the same feeling. Useless, die in peace. Whoosh Huangpu Qingshan's palm attack sped up and the girls felt their breaths caught in their throat, picturing the gory mess they would soon become. Luo Yuncheng closed her teary eyes in pain and sorrow. Why couldn't I see Zhuo Fan one last time? Ninger was praying for a miracle. The same miracle that saved her in Blue Expanse City. Will anyone save us? Crack suddenly, Zai Tianyang and Ninger's thunder ring flickered and the two cried. Zhuo Fan, big brother Zhuo. Boom, too little. Too late, Huangpu Qingshan's palm struck down, destroying even the ground below them. Zai Tianyang watched the aftermath in a daze, slumping powerless as tears flowed from his eyes. It was now that a carefree voice entered their ears. Were you looking for me? A shiver ran through Huangpu Qingshan and his knuckles turned white. He turned, like the rest, to where the voice came from, to see a figure in a billowing black cloak, wielding a sword of unmatched edge, yet sheathed for now. But that could not hide the dread and power it instilled in the hearts of all present, especially when he held two girls in his arms, the same ones Huangpu Qingshan was about to kill. How the mangled bodies and the torn limbs were nowhere to be seen. How were they still in one piece? Did this man just do the impossible? Did he save them without even Huangpu Qingshan noticing? That's absurd. Who could ever pull such a feat, such as saving someone from right under heaven-shaking Dragon Lord's nose, and at the last second too? Not even the feeding feet Lin Xuanfeng could pull it off. Who the hell is this guy? Eyes filled with shock and intrigue graced the black figure. Not even Huangpu Qingshan could stop his eye from twitching. It was a rare sight to see him lose his voice, because it had never happened to him, ever. Once the haze passed, Luo Yuncheng was still trying to make sense of everything. One second she was staring death in the face, and the next she was in the arms of a robed man. Zhu Ningxiang didn't fare any better, but the familiar flickering forced her eyes on the man's hand, on the sparkling thunder ring. Big brother Zhu, you're all right. Her words earned the gasp of the crowd. Easing them down, Zhuo Fan smiled and pulled back his cowl to reveal the same familiar face that some cherished, some hated, and some reviled. Yes, sir, he was the one and only Soaring Demonic Dragon, who made sure to leave chaos in his wake wherever he went. Zhuo Fan. Smiling to Zhu Ningxiang, Zhuo Fan showed a rare calmness. Ninger, it's been a while. Zhu Ningxiang nodded a smile, lowering her bashful face. Zai Tianyang was still crawling and couldn't for the life of him decide which was better, life or death. He was thrilled that Zhu Ningxiang was safe and sound, but the deep gaze Zhu Ningxiang gave Zhuo Fan made him feel his life was over. Ninger, why have you never looked at me like that? Bam, Zhuo Fan stumbled forward and held his butt. He snapped back irate, young miss, what's wrong? We haven't seen. His words soon stopped though, because Luo Yuncheng was looking at him with teary eyes and a reproachful glare. You are asking me, what about you? Where the hell did you run off to for the past 5 years? I was worried sick, Luo Yuncheng raved, but she couldn't mask the joy bursting from her chest as she forgot where she was and jumped into his arms, her tears falling nonstop. She wanted to hold him close to her heart and never let him go. Zhuo Fan was caught unprepared, not knowing how to even respond, but ultimately deciding to hug her back. Zhu Ningxiang felt a stab of pain from deep within her heart. She should be happy to see Zhuo Fan again, so why the pain? But the sight of this young miss holding Zhuo Fan so close seemed to make her heart frantic. Chu Qingcheng was no different. Zhuo Fan was the husband she recognized back in Drifting Flower City, and here he was, spreading his love. However reasonable and perfectly natural her brain told her this reunion was, her heart was another matter entirely. The pain was far greater than any wound she had ever received. Two women's love aside, the 4 tigers of Tianyu felt their hearts literally crack. Young Miss Luo pined for someone else. That makes the 5 years we carried a torch for her go down the drain. We even fought among each other over her. This blasted and rotten steward Zhu is a clan thief in the truest sense. He even stole young Miss Hart, and yet worries soon gave way to joy. Watching such a touchy reunion, Zai Tianyang's mouth split into a wide grin. As long as Zhuo Fan has a woman, Ninger will be devastated. The perfect time to make my move. Whether it is Chu Qingcheng or Luo Yuncheng, who cares? Ha ha ha. Zai Tianyang was laughing his heart out on the inside, totally forgetting the precarious and quite deadly situation they were in seconds ago. For even a 5th layer of bone-tempering woman to kick your ass, Soaring Demonic Dragon's reputation is undeserving. A brash and cocky voice burst Luo Yuncheng's bubble of happiness. She came crashing down to reality, reminded of the danger they were in. She jumped away from Zhuo Fan, wiped her tears, and like the perfect image of a little girl, dodged behind him. Steward Zhu, keep me safe. Her coy voice was enough to melt the 4 tigers' ice-cold hearts, which were now bursting out of their chest in rage and rancor directed at the newly arrived man, Zhuo Fan. What does young Miss Luo sees in that steward Zhu? Isn't he beneath her? Glancing back, Zhuo Fan was puzzled, since when did this last learn to throw a hissy fit? It's not a bad idea, though. Ha ha ha, eldest young master, this guy doesn't look like much. He's only in the 9th layer of bone tempering stage. He couldn't even break through to the profound heaven stage. Fighting him will only harm your image, so allow me to do the honors." Lin Xuanfeng laughed. Huangpu Qingshan nodded. "The brat is right. If this is all Zhuo Fan amounts to, there's no need for my intervention. But in case Zhuo Fan was pulling his punches, it might not be so bad to let this dumbass test the waters." Huangpu Qingshan smiled. "Suit yourself, I'll allow it. Thank you, eldest young master." Lin Xuanfeng snickered at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and turned to Luo Yuncheng. "Hooray, these guys." Luo Yuncheng gave a rushed explanation. Getting the memo on who was who here, Zhuo Fan realized how powerful Huangpu Qingshan was. He alone dealt with Zhuo Fan's 3 allies and the 4 tigers of Tianyu, yet was still so composed. Actually, he's dreadfully powerful, and Zhuo Fan would never have fought him in the past. As for now, hee. Zhuo Fan grinned deviously, his brain already cooking the beginnings of a plan. Luo Yuncheng brightened. Being so long in Zhuo Fan's presence, she knew his tells, and the confidence he showed now was more than a little reassuring. So without further ado, she singled Lin Xuanfeng out. "Steward Zhuo, ignore the others and teach this prick a lesson he never forgets." Zhuo Fan asked, puzzled. "What's so special about him?" "He had errant intentions about me." Luo Yuncheng was wishy-washy, holding his sleeve and acting like a big child. It unleashed a cuteness overload attack on everyone's heart. Zhuo Fan blinked, giving her another look. Young Miss has changed. She finally started to work out her naivety, and since the young Miss had spoken, it was a steward's duty to comply. Whether its request was real or not was besides the point. Zhuo Fan switched his tone in the blink of an eye and stared down Lin Xuanfeng. "Forest fleeting dragon Lin Xuanfeng, you must be tired of living. You had the nerve to go after my young miss. And it's not my fault that Luo clan has no men." He didn't get to finish his sentence as something knocked him flying. He went through 4 houses before getting buried under the rubble. Zhuo Fan was a whole 100 meters away, his eyes aflame as he lowered his hand. "Bastard, you dare say that with me here? Go to hell." The silence was deafening. They stared slack-jawed at him. Even heaven-shaking Dragon Lord was stunned. What just happened? They were 100 meters apart. How did Zhuo Fan slap him away? The one under the rubble was from the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, Lin Xuanfeng. The fastest man in the profound heaven stage, be it an attack or a hidden weapon, anything thrown at the guy was easily dodged. That was all thanks to his speed. As for melee attacks, you couldn't even touch the man. Yet here was Zhuo Fan, flicking his hand and sending the speedster flying. If that wasn't shocking, what else was? But what was really on everyone's mind was how did he do it? No one noticed anything. He moved so fast, it went beyond their perception, including heaven-shaking dragon lords. If a monster like him couldn't catch what happened, didn't that make Zhuo Fan a monster himself? Their eyes watching Zhuo Fan turned from shock to fearful. Zai Tiansheng muttered to himself before sighing. Soaring Demonic Dragon's reputation precedes him. What an oddity. Long Xingyun was dazed. "I now know why father allied with the Luo clan. Why little Qi and little Jai were so driven to cultivate. This monster gives too great of a shock. But will only cultivation be enough to catch up to these 2 monsters?" Long Xingyun shook his head. Chu Qingcheng watched the imposing figure with a deep gaze, but then recalling his ties with the other girls ruined her mood. Rumble Lin Xuanfeng rose from under the ruins with a bloody mouth and spat what seemed to be blood along with a tooth mixed in it. He looked towards Zhuo Fan, but this time he wasn't as carefree as before. Soaring Demonic Dragon is a mystery in and of himself. He didn't even get a chance to react and was sent flying. What's more, Zhuo Fan did it offhandedly. If he hadn't pulled his punches, would he even be alive right now? More importantly, the opponent's speed was creepier than his. The speed he prided himself with turned out to have no use whatsoever. Lin Xuanfeng's fear of Zhuo Fan only grew stronger. Yu Yushin and Yan Bangui rushed over, while looking at Zhuo Fan distraught. They had heard the rumors about the infamous Zhuo Fan, but seeing was believing, of how demonically dreadful he was. No wonder this guy caused chaos among the 7 houses, yet was living nice and happy. His power is even weirder. With a dismissive wave, Zhuo Fan acted as if all was natural and turned to Luo Yuncheng. "Young miss, will you be content with such a punishment? Should I give him a kick as well?" Lin Xuanfeng's heart jumped and he shivered a step back. Having gone through that light slap, the forest fleeting dragon of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix was shaking in his boots. No one would ever believe it was possible, but the truth was undeniable. Huangpu Qingshan scared him into submission with diplomacy and might. Zhuo Fan, on the other hand, did it through brutality. They were at such a level, not even the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix could mess with any of them. Luo Yuncheng now picked up on Zhuo Fan's words. His display was so frightening that even she was dazed. No need. He only lacked manners when speaking with me. A slap is enough. Lin Xuanfeng eased a breath, grateful even. Young Miss Luo, you're the best. But Luo Yuncheng's next words had him on the verge of wetting himself from fear. As for the matter regarding Yunhai, Luo Yuncheng pointed at her brother on the ground and then pleaded. Zhuo Fan with big eyes. Steward Zhuo, they harassed your young master. You can't let this matter stand. Zhuo Fan's face hardened, noticing the half-grown-up Luo Yunhai had his leg broken and his bloodthirst spiked. Who did this, young master? Luo Yunhai shook his head helplessly. With Zhuo Fan missing God knows where, his sister had to take over clan matters. Her gentle and kind sister had gone through so many negotiations with her allies that it had changed her initially weak standpoint to the unbendable one of today. Having negotiated so much, patting down, faking and being stubborn came easy. She has turned as tough and as unreasonable as brother Zhuo, especially sharp in using her female attributes to look weak and have others do the work for her or drive a wedge. Now that big bro Zhuo's back, she feels left out, yet still couldn't hide all the charm she gained from those years of handling the clan's negotiations. And Zhuo Fan, everyone here knew Zhuo Fan never took things lying down. He was even more cunning and insidious than Luo Yuncheng. Looking at it in a different way, Luo Yuncheng's style was all thanks to Zhuo Fan's influence. Luo Yunhai, having lived in Dugu army, knew how to gauge a situation and when to stop. He waved, "It's nothing, brother Zhuo. I'm happy to know you're all right and that you came back." "What nothing? Yunhai, has the army messed with your head? Forget about enduring it like we did before. Brother Zhuo's back and we're not about to take this anymore." "Right." Luo Yuncheng turned to see a shocked Zhuo Fan looking back as if he didn't recognize her. She blushed and went back to being a meek and cute kid. "Isn't that right, young miss? Have you lost it?" Blinking, Zhuo Fan broke out in sweat. When did the young miss become so shrewd? But that didn't mean he didn't like the change. In a world where strong prey on the weak, compassion would only get one killed. Regardless of the fact whether it was a good reason to fight back or not, he still had to do it to some extent. That was Zhuo Fan's creed and style. The world wasn't ruled by reason, but by might. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. "Listen to your sister. When I was gone, I couldn't help even if I wanted to. But since I'm back, there will be no compromises or I'd be a steward for nothing." They all could sense the thick bloodthirst in his voice. Luo Yunhai was silent. All men shuddered inside, admiring Zhuo Fan's flair, while the girls swooned. Even the always ticked-off peony overseer had to admit he struck a reliable figure with unmatched charm. Never mind. Yunhai must be troubled as well. Luo Yuncheng sighed and once again changed her style as she clung to Zhuo Fan's arm and grumbled. "He did it. He broke Yunhai's leg. Him again?" Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan swiveled to Lin Xuanfeng. "It seems a slap was too light for you." Swallowing dryly, Lin Xuanfeng reeled 2 steps back, soaked to the bone in sweat. Yan Bangui and Yu Yushin were vigilant on either side of him. Of this generation, besides heaven-shaking Dragon Lord, only Zhuo Fan could instill such fear in them. Pa. Huangpu Qingshan's light step put him right in front of Zhuo Fan. "Had enough." "Oh, you want to stop me?" Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan showed his trademark evil grin. Huangpu Qingshan was as calm as ever, not minding Zhuo Fan's tone the least. "You're overthinking things. No one has managed to surpass me and you're no different." The crowd watched, all tensed up. Huangpu Qingshan is on the move, and this was the first time that he acted out of his own initiative to block someone. He didn't say it, but his stance was clear. He acknowledged Zhuo Fan's strength. Only when facing a true opponent would he stand in front of them. His earlier attacks were casual because none of them were worthy of his attention. Zhuo Fan was the exception. This only worked to put pressure on the crowd, eagerly watching the two monsters' first contact. Zai Tiansheng was bitter and lonesome. All the martial fanatic in him ever wanted was to have a face-to-face match with heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. A pity he was sorely lacking in power. Lin Xuanfeng's group breathed easy. With the boss taking a stand, this kid will no longer threaten us. And yet, scratching his head, Zhuo Fan grinned at the casual Huangpu Qingshan. "You think so?" Whoosh, Zhuo Fan vanished. Huangpu Qingshan didn't have time to even appreciate the novelty of the situation, as Zhuo Fan's chuckle came from 100 meters away. He was right before Lin Xuanfeng. "Ha ha ha, kid, you hurt my young master." "Pay up." Lin Xuanfeng was scared witless. When did he get past Huangpu Qingshan and come here? He couldn't even get one step away as Zhuo Fan's purple lightning-enveloped leg hit him squarely in the gut. He flew for tens of meters. The purple lightning was torturing his body until he spat blood. His organs were in a seriously damaged state. SSS, an all-around gasp was heard. His allies Yan Bangui and Yu Yushin stood rooted in fear at Zhuo's display. But after Lin Xuanfeng was kicked off, they struck back with a palm. Zhuo Fan vanished again, appearing next to the twirling Lin Xuanfeng in the sky and clutched his leg with a demonic smirk. "Kid, you broke my young master's leg. I think taking away yours sounds pretty fair." Lin Xuanfeng was panicking inside. He didn't even get to beg as Zhuo Fan followed through with his threat. Ghostly dragon claw, rip. Blood spurted like a fountain, followed closely by Lin Xuanfeng's wail of agony. Zhuo Fan threw away the leg he just tore off. Huangpu Qingshan was shocked. This is the first time his face changed and he wanted to help. But then a voice came from behind him. Young Master Huangpu, weren't you going to stop me? What are you doing showing me your back then? Shuddering, Huangpu Qingshan felt a trickle of sweat on his scalp. He turned stiffly to find Zhuo Fan still there, calm and snickering. While on the other end, Yan Bangyi and Yu Yushin found that the target of their attack had been switched to each other. They were sent flying and blood spilled from their lips. However, that wasn't as important as the looks Zhuo Fan was getting. Zhuo Fan did all that in a breath. It wasn't a stretch to call it an instant. He came and went 3 times in that short time span. He kicked Lin Xuanfeng, then ripped his leg off and finally came back to his original spot. He did all that to those 3 men. Because it all happened too fast, Huangpu Qingshan had no way of even intercepting. It was the same as Zhuo Fan proclaiming nothing is out of my reach. The looks of shock were as if they saw an abomination. Even Huangpu Qingshan was doing it. For the first time ever, this man felt powerless. Wiping his brow by instinct, Huangpu Qingshan seemed calm, but turning to Zhuo Fan, he had lost his casual stance and became grave. Although he was a very conceited person, it didn't stop him from admitting that today he had met his match. It seems I can't let my guard down around you. Huangpu Qingshan's tone dropped and he stared at Zhuo Fan like a hunter. Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, "Oh, so that's what you've been missing so far. Are you ready now?" With another creepy grin, Zhuo Fan was gone. He popped before Yan Bangyi and slapped him while cackling. "Then I'll go after your sidekick's head this time." Yan Bangyi panicked. He never thought Zhuo Fan would pick on him. He got flustered while defending and released his poison. Since when could a hastily made plan repel Zhuo Fan's long ready palm strike? Moreover, his poison hardly worked on the likes of Zhuo Fan, who could just use demon transformation art to dispel it. But before his attack could land, Zhuo Fan squinted and was gone. Boom. Huangpu Qingshan was looking at rubble. It was where Zhuo Fan and the 2 girls had stood, but was now littered with dust. Zhuo Fan reappeared 100 meters away holding the girls while giving heaven-shaking Dragon Lord the evil eye. Huangpu Qingshan snickered back. "Like I said, you can't get past me." Zhuo Fan clenched his jaw and his fists. Huangpu Qingshan was no muscle brain and quite cunning as well. Zhuo Fan wanted to relieve Yan Bangyi of his cumbersome head as an affront to this man. But this guy knew he couldn't give chase and settled for targeting Luo Yuncheng and Zhu Ningxiang. Forced to save them, regardless of how fast one was, he had to abandon his tricks. Yan Bangyi was scared out of his mind as he watched them. He didn't want his fate to have such an untimely ending. The fright was so intense, he felt he had lost a decade of his lifespan. Yu Yushin was affected as well, seeing the 2 dragons on the brink of a war and bolted. Only the crippled Lin Xuanfeng was left behind wailing on the ground. Not that anyone had a mind to pay him any attention when they were focused on the 2 monsters. They all wanted to know who was going to be the champion in the esoteric debate, anticlimactic as it were, finding the results so early. Holding a girl in each arm, Zhuo Fan's eyes glared with anger at Huangpu Qingshan. If earlier he was just messing around, he was now focused. The girls caught onto the situation and ran far away to not disturb their battle. Huangpu Qingshan grinned in excitement, sensing the change in Zhuo Fan. Facing an opponent like Zhuo Fan couldn't be more thrilling. Wrapped in a golden light, his power surged and he was putting pressure even on Chu Qingcheng's group despite how far they were. Huangpu Qingshan's power dominated the scene, just like how a king showed his presence. Zhuo Fan's stance paled somewhat, but the faint black energy rolling about, the flickers of purple in his eyes, spoke of a deep power laying hidden, waiting for the emperor to come close so he could wring his neck. It gave everyone a feeling of danger never sensed before. The onlookers felt their heart in their throats, yet they couldn't budge an inch. "Imperial Tyrant Body Art," Huangpu Qingshan shouted, and 9 golden dragons twisted around him before shooting for Zhuo Fan. Seen from afar, it was as if the sky was coming down to pulverize the earth. Such mighty power could be felt even by the audience. Is this how much of a freak he has become? Is this the level of Huangpu Qingshan's profound ranked martial art? All swallowed dryly in shock, waiting nervously for Zhuo Fan's reaction. Laughing, Zhuo Fan's eyes had a golden ring with purple lightning streaking in them and charged as well. Roar, a draconic roar followed the image of a black dragon growing around Zhuo Fan. But the streaks of purple lightning around it caused the earth to rumble incessantly. It was as if the end of days was coming. While others cried in shock, Huangpu Qingshan's eye trembled because of the power Zhuo Fan displayed. This martial art was no weaker than his 9th stage of Imperial Tyrant Body Art. As far as the eyes could see, the two mighty powers created a stark and conflicting contrast. Hyunpu Kingshan was bathed in golden glow, like an emperor gracing the world with his presence. Zhuo Fan, however, was in the form of a black dragon wrapped in purple lightning, threatening to tear the world asunder. If Hyunpu Kingshan was a natural-born emperor, Zhuo Fan was his antithesis, a necrotic dragon ready to defy any ruling that was imposed on him. These two are fated enemies, Zai Tiansheng sighed. The others nodded. They were unclear, however, who was it that would come out on top. Heaven-shaking dragon lord or soaring demonic dragon? They all looked perturbed at this scene. Perhaps the esoteric debate would be cut short here and now. Perhaps Regent Estate's millennium-long reign would come to an end. The six houses were witnessing history in the making. Soaring Demonic Dragon, Imperial Tyrant Body Art, roar, roar. With two mighty roars, Zhuo Fan and Hyunpu Kingshan's dragons were on a collision course. But a third roar resonated from between them, followed by a blue glow. The two were forced to slow down their attacks, because the blue glow came from none other than the second of four pillars, Marshal Dugu Zhanshan's 6th-grade spiritual weapon, dragon-slaying crescent blade. A mighty figure drifted from the sky and landed between the two. He caught the two's wrists and flung them into the air. Bam! Zhuo Fan and Hyunpu Kingshan's outrageously powerful martial arts hit nothing, and instead each of them were buried in rubble. When they crawled out and got their wits about them, the aged and mighty Dugu Zhanshan stood in all his majestic form before them. I will have no grudge fights in my Dragon Cloud City. You two bastards take me for air. Dugu Zhanshan's eyes snapped on Hyunpu Kingshan, causing his breath to catch in his throat. He was prideful but no fool. He was overbearing among peers, and even if he skipped stages, he'd only fight the average Radiant stage expert. In the face of Dugu Zhanshan, the general who reeked of blood and battle, he was subdued. I won't ever violate Marshal Dugu's orders again. Hyunpu Kingshan admitted his wrongs. His face was calm, however, like a king's. Dugu Zhanshan's anger had nowhere to vent since he didn't want to tangle with Regent Estate, so he turned to Zhuo Fan and barked, "Zhuo Fan, where do you think you're going?" The man in question was skulking away, like a thief in the night. He sighed at having been caught, but putting on a bright smile the next instant, he said, "Ha ha ha, Marshal Dugu, how's it going? Please show consideration for my young master. He's right over there, cut the crap. I knew you were still alive and have been waiting for this." Dugu Zhanshan mocked him the instant he spouted hypocrisies. "But where did you run off to this time? What trouble have you stirred up? When did you arrive? And how is it that you're already giving me trouble?" Today, actually." Zhuo Fan scratched his head shyly, but then he squinted and pointed at Luo Yunhai. "All Marshal, this is totally not my fault. Look at my young master, your godson. Someone broke his leg. I was only doing my duty as the Luo clan's steward." "Say what?" Dugu Zhanshan took in the sorry state this place was and found his 5 godsons on the ground, with Luo Yunhai feeble from the blood loss due to a broken leg. Dugu Zhanshan's eyes went bloodshot as he roared, "Who did this? I'll never let you go." "They did it, Marshal Dugu. Please give our young master justice." Zhuo Fan pointed fingers instantly at Hyunpu Kingshan, of course. Zhuo Fan was the picture of a good servant having the backing of his faithful master. Luo Yuncheng added her 2 cents in the form of a grieving sister. "Please, Godfather, please give my brother justice." Taking a deep breath, Dugu Zhanshan's eyes spat fire as he glared at Hyunpu Kingshan. "Hyunpu Kingshan, why have you harmed my godsons?" Dugu Zhanshan barely contained the beast raging inside. Hyunpu Kingshan was calm because they were in my way. "And why were they in your way?" "They carried out Marshal's orders to prevent me from having a grudge fight." Tightening his fists, Dugu Zhanshan's eyes spat fire. "In other words, they aren't at fault here." "No, they aren't." Dugu Zhanshan was about to blow a gasket. Hyunpu Kingshan said coldly, "I also said that they are not fit to enter a grudge fight with me, not when they're so weak. Therefore it does not fall into defying Marshal's order. As for my fight with Steward Zhuo, that was indeed a grudge fight, but your 5 sons were already down by that point, so it can be said that they weren't hurt from doing their duty." Hyunpu Kingshan knew Marshal Dugu was a man of integrity, so he used sophistry. Saying that the 5 tigers had voluntarily and of their own volition stepped in his way, and he thus inadvertently harmed them while running through them. Although pedantic, Dugu Zhanshan was no moron to not notice the way he shifted blame. His eyes only grew colder as his knuckles popped. "What you're saying is that my godsons were wounded without your intention?" "Precisely so. They ran into me and wounded themselves." Hyunpu Kingshan jutted his chin and spoke righteously. "And what of my 5th godson? What happened to his leg? And don't go saying he broke his leg running into you." Dugu Zhanshan's eyes were bloodshot, his voice rumbling and thick with bloodthirst. Shaking his head, Hyunpu Kingshan said, "That wasn't me, it was Lin Xuanfeng. Out of respect for you, Marshal, I was extremely lenient on your godsons. Where's that Lin Xuanfeng then? I have a score to settle with him." Dugu Zhanshan's eyes darted around. With a slow stretch of the hand, a finger pointed out the gasping Lin Xuanfeng. Huangpu Qingshan said, "Marshal, there's no need for that now." Steward Zhuo had, in front of everyone, taken matter into his own hands on behalf of his master. Is Marshal still going to continue? Dugu Zhanshan spotted the pool of blood in which the pale face of the crippled Lin Xuanfeng lay. His anger washed away in an instant. The guy was on his last leg, quite literally, given the circumstances, and even if saved, he'd be left a waste. His fate was far worse than his godson's. He suddenly felt awkward, even in the wrong. As if he was the accuser in this case, especially when they were worse off than his side by a dozen times. Zhuo Fan, of course, didn't think so. Availing of Dugu Zhanshan's presence, he was giving his very best in blowing the sky high. All Marshal, don't listen to his lies. You have no idea of the cruelty and harassment he put us through. When I arrived, the four had ganged up on my young master, humiliating and trampling him. My loyalty to my master is unquestionable, coming to his rescue at once. But I was also a victim of their assault. It was impossible for me to fight the four alone, leaving me riddled with wounds. Out of carelessness and sheer coincidence, they made a mistake and lost a leg. But we are the victims here, we were the ones abused. Please give us justice, Marshal. Zhuo Fan's voice took a mournful and stuttering tone, filled with pain and agony. They saw our clan small and weak and decided to harass us. They are low and despicable people. PFF, everyone there spurted blood. Even Huangpu Qingshan's face twitched. Even he, with his upbringing, was finding it hard not to flip out. What's with this guy? He twists everything. Although cunning, his speech was based on sophistry. Yet never had he seen someone of Zhuo Fan's ilk running his mouth and spouting such outrageous lies. You rotten bastard, look around you, look at the witnesses. How can you be so despicable? Despite his perfectly reasonable thinking, Luo Yuncheng also picked this time to add oil to the fire. Steward Zhuo downplayed it slightly, out of worry for the Luo clan, but this is indeed the situation. Please help us, Godfather, PFF. With another round of blood from the crowd, all eyes were on Luo Yuncheng. The hell? What is young Miss Luo doing copying Steward Zhuo? Sigh, another one falls under Zhuo Fan's bad influence. It was followed by a round of sighs and head shaking. Oh, you poor thing. Coming from an upright clan, yet unable to escape this man's devious corruption, Luo Yuncheng and Zhuo Fan shared a sly grin. Face twitching, Dugu Zhanshan already had a taste of Zhuo Fan's grandstanding and wasn't buying it this time. Then again, this is the perfect chance to get back at Regent Estate. So Dugu Zhanshan nodded. I see, Huangpu Qingshan. I have banned grudge fights, and yet you all started harassing the weak with numbers. A much viler act than a mere grudge fight. Is this what you thought of my orders? I will take this matter to each of your houses and get a thorough explanation from them. Marshal, you only heard his side. Huangpu Qingshan was flustered for the first time. Raising an eyebrow, Dugu Zhanshan's eyes gleamed. Oh, one-sided. Ha ha ha, all right then, let's see what the witnesses say. Dugu Zhanshan turned to the ones on the ground and asked, what Zhuo Fan said, is it true? They looked at each other, clearly getting his drift. Since Dugu Zhanshan was siding with Zhuo Fan, of course they nodded. Especially the 5 tigers of Tianyu. These guys were quite frank and upright but not dumb. Of course they'd help their kin. Face twitching, Huangpu Qingshan was swept by anger. They're clearly aiming for us. Marshal, I thought you were a righteous man, but now I see. Huangpu Qingshan clenched his fists and jaw. With a bright smile, Dugu Zhanshan mocked. See what, you heard them. Is there anything you would like to add? Humph, they're clearly siding with Zhuo Fan, while on our side Lin Xuanfeng had his leg ripped out. Huangpu Qingshan was finding it hard to restrain his towering anger, evident from his loud voice. Dugu Zhanshan roared back, you have one victim while they are all down, so whose side is the real victim here? Who was it that harassed others with their power? Are you so damn blind? Huangpu Qingshan's eyes twitched. He had never been so furious in his life. Most of all, never ever had he been taken advantage of. Yet here, against Zhuo Fan, he could do nothing as the man had spun a trap around him. Even Dugu Zhanshan was against him. He who had always seen himself as a king and emperor was now reaching the limits of his patience. Soaring Demonic Dragon, your title sure is apt in going after me, heaven-shaking dragon lord. Humph, we'll just have to see how you will end. Huangpu Qingshan squinted then up and left. He knew arguing any longer would be a waste of time. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and pointed at him. Marshal Dugu, you're just gonna let him go. He just threatened me, my poor little life is on the line here. A sudden ripple spread and Dugu Zhanshan jumped in front of Zhuo Fan, releasing a ripple of his own. A boom reverberated as the space warped visibly. Huangpu Qingshan snorted at Zhuo Fan in anger. Soaring Demonic Dragon, you're lucky this time. But when the esoteric debate starts, when the 7 houses battle, hope you'll have the same amount of luck then. And he took his 2 allies while dragging Lin Xuanfeng with them. Dugu Zhanshan looked at him in shock. This kid, He is a peak profound heaven expert, yet can use killing with intent that only a radiant stage expert can use. He truly is the #1 talent in Tianyu. His future is limitless. The others jerked in fright. Huangpu Qingshan had long surpassed them. He was on a whole different level. The next time they meet, they might not even come out alive. Against killing with intent, no amount of speed would help. Zhuo Fan only chuckled, a mere bluff. Dugu Jianshan towered behind him and cuffed him. What damn bluff. That's power. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? I know you're a body cultivator and perhaps can win in a brawl against him, but that was a soul attack, killing with intent. You'd never even realize when your life was taken from you. I see no way for you to win against that monster. Dugu Jianshan eyed them and sighed. The others frowned and sighed as well. Zhuo Fan had given a thread of hope to all, but now it was all crushed to dust. No one beneath a radiant stage could survive an intent attack. Zhuo Fan had his freaky ability, but not even that would save him. Yet the man in question hardly cared. He had stopped caring for as long as 5 years ago. Dugu Jianshan had some soldiers take the wounded to the marshal's residence for immediate treatment, yet none of them noticed a spindly figure further away, watching them. Upon closer look, one would identify him as unwanted contriver Ling Wucheng, Regent Estate steward. Ling Wucheng twirled his mustache as he kept watching, Zhuo Fan in particular. This kid is not as heartless as I thought. It had been 6 hours since they arrived at the marshal's temporary residence in Dragon Cloud City. Time in which the wounded were placed in a side wing and administered pills. Luo Yuncheng and Ninger, the only ones who came out unharmed from this ordeal, were the caretakers. As for Zhuo Fan, he was there as well, expressing his heartfelt thanks to his 3 paralyzed allies. Thank you all for such hard work. If it weren't for your help, our clan's line would have been severed. Zhuo Fan held each of their hands. Long Jai and Long Kui felt odd seeing the kind and gentle smile on his face. They had been arduous in cultivating these past 5 years, just so they could bridge the gap between them and this monster. And yet he just showed up, and instead of getting closer, they had only fallen farther behind. Even though this guy was still a shameless bone-tempering cultivator, how could his power be classified as one? As this was Long Xingyun's first time seeing this freak in the flesh and in action, he was quite moved. Brother Zhu, now I see what my father was thinking. Only after seeing you have I realized how much time I've been wasting. Sigh, youth is wasted on the young. But even so, you should live your life to the fullest and take some time off to enjoy it. Ha ha ha, don't take it to heart. Zhuo Fan patted his shoulder, but the more he paid attention, the more Long Xingyun felt it was fake. Is this your way of consoling me? Zai Tianxing's eyes were filled with fighting spirit, wishing nothing more than to jump on his legs and have a go with the man. Zhuo Fan, once I'm healed, how about we have a match? Zhuo Fan blinked, completely not getting what he was going for. We just met, and never have I gotten on your bad side, so why do you want to fight me? Ignore him. My elder brother is a martial fanatic. He wants to fight any expert that catches his eye, Zai Tianyang jabbed. Having known Zhuo Fan for so long, he had no qualms whatsoever. Zhuo Fan nodded, another one, I see. Just like Elder Li, it's best that I keep my distance. He wasn't so idle as to waste time sparring with a martial fanatic every day, so Zhuo Fan gave him a wide berth, going over Zai Tianyang. Hey, wait, you didn't answer me. Zai Tiansheng watched Zhuo Fan with a fervent gaze. He was sorely wishing right now that he could just jump and exchange hundreds of moves with Zhuo Fan, but would Zhuo Fan listen? He treated martial fanatics as basket cases. Tangling with him would only net Zhuo Fan a huge waste of time. And so, Zai Tiansheng's grumblings were firmly and undoubtedly ignored. Zhuo Fan walked next to his little brother instead and knocked his head a few times. Brother Zai, you did a good job today. I must say, you sure gave your all for Ninger. Zip it. My life belongs to Ninger. Rolling his eyes, Zai Tianyang was quite frank, making the nearby Zhu Ningxiang blush and glare back. She was clearly signaling not to spout such things around Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan laughed carefree. Zai Tianyang's eyes turned serious, his voice tinted with worry. Zhuo Fan, do you always stand out wherever you go? You've got my Ninger to swoon over you every time she sees you. Can't you tone it down a little so I can have a shot? Shuddering, Zhuo Fan remained silent. Zai Tianyang seemed to be joking, but how could Zhuo Fan not sense the worry within? If this went on, the three's relationship would become more complicated or, worse, break apart. Zhuo Fan sighed after a moment. Sorry, that's how heavens made me. If I don't show off, who else will? Just focus on getting better. Patting his shoulder, Zhuo Fan left with a stiff smile. Zai Tianyang laughed dejectedly. He knew Zhuo Fan had yet to make a decision on this and was making a tactical retreat. Or was it an attack? Although he made himself seem ruthless, who could guard against feelings creeping up on oneself, he went around spreading thanks to all the clan's helpers, including but not limited to the 4 tigers. But the tigers saw him as an enemy, something he couldn't wrap his head around as to why. I stole no wife of yours, so what the hell is with the glares? But when he reached the final patient, he spun on his leg and walked away. Stop, the charming voice came from Chu Qingcheng, who was watching him in reproach. Why you aren't going to even talk to me? Iris and peony overseers were staring daggers, as if accusing him of abandoning his wife. Thank you, Drifting Flowers Edifices, for helping our clan in our desperate hour. That's not it, and you know it. Chu Qingcheng cut him off. I just want to know why. Why didn't you see me one last time before leaving Drifting Flower City? Steeling himself, Zhuo Fan said, I killed and took what I needed. I fulfilled my goal and had no reason to stay. No reason at all, Chu Qingcheng blinked. Her pretty eyes demanded an answer. Zhuo Fan didn't know how to respond. Then a sudden giggle came. Steward Zhu, Marshal is calling you. Leave things here to me. Luo Yuncheng came over with a smile, faking obliviousness. Saved by the bell, Zhuo Fan grabbed the excuse like his lifeline and bobbed his head. Then I'll go right now. Young miss, take good care of them. And he was gone, despite the doe eyes Chu Qingcheng was giving him. Luo Yuncheng turned a hard stare at Chu Qingcheng. Edifice Lord Chu, Steward Zhu is a bore. If he has hurt you with his words or actions, please forgive him. I'll be taking care of you in his place. Luo Yuncheng's words were full of propriety and good nature, but the true meaning was, he's mine. Chu Qingcheng had taken care of Drifting Flowers Edifices for so many years since an even younger age than Luo Yuncheng. How could she not hear the veiled threat? She laughed coldly. You're far too kind. Zhuo Fan's transgressions are too grave to measure. How could I possibly ask clan head to take the blame? I will have Zhuo Fan supply me with the appropriate resolution, but thank you for your offer, young miss. I.e., this is between me and Zhuo Fan. You've got no business here, so scram. Sparks were flying off between them soon after. The others looked away from the cat fight and lamented. Sigh, this is a woman's war. It's best we don't get caught in between. But Zhu Ningxiang looked on in distress, feeling somewhat excluded. Going back to the culprit behind all this, Zhuo Fan was speeding towards Marshall's house across from the wounded ward in jubilation. Perfect timing. He was truly caught in the trap back there. Who would have thought facing Chu Qingcheng was more exhausting than fighting Huangpu Qingshan? He'd rather go against 100 Huangpu Qingshans than see Chu Qingcheng again. But when he entered Marshall's home, the old guy laughed heartily, putting him on high alert. Ha ha ha, you came, kid. Sit, I have something to tell you. Dugu Zhanshan laughed and gestured at the chair nearby. Zhuo Fan was on guard as he eased into the chair. Dugu Zhanshan's critical eye from his seat of honor had Zhuo Fan's hair stand on end. All Marshal, you wanted to see me? Zhuo Fan broke the silence. Dugu Zhanshan grinned. It's nothing much, just your conscription. Conscription? Zhuo Fan shook his head vehemently. No, I am not army material. Find someone else. Glaring, Dugu Zhanshan's beard trembled as he cursed, cut the crap. Who on earth is born a soldier? Even that brat Yunhai got trained into shape by me. With your talents, a year tops and you'll be taking my job. If you're so confident, go find someone else. Why do you want me? Zhuo Fan shook his head. Dugu Zhanshan sighed and his eyes were glazed with worry. It's easy to train an army, but it's so hard to find a good array master. In the field of war, there are many array masters using their skills in the form of formations. We are sorely lacking in array masters, and that has made our recent losses disastrous. Don't look at me, I'm a meathead. I don't know anything when it comes to arrays or formations. Zhuo Fan made up a lie, but Dugu Zhanshan wouldn't have it. He had looked into the kid before calling him. Such a flimsy lie wouldn't fly with him. He, oh please. I already know everything. Your old clan head has long been dead and you are the one running the show, including the 4 5th grade arrays. Dugu Zhanshan's eyes shined when he reached this point. He was sorely lacking an outstanding array master and wanted to have Zhuo Fan without fail. The latter felt trapped in the old guy's gaze and didn't know how to get away. He felt like crying. This was exactly why he wanted to slink through Dragon Cloud City and never cross paths with the Marshal. He already saw this coming and wanted to avoid it for as long as possible. All Marshal, I truly cannot do this. Please find someone else. Zhuo Fan shook his head and rose to leave. Whoosh, in a flash of blue, the dragon-slaying crescent blade was nailed in front of him, followed by, why? Zhuo Fan was in despair, isn't it obvious? I don't want to. Since he was asked for a reason, Zhuo Fan had to oblige, so he stuck out his neck and refused. They say that a good man doesn't enlist. Bullshit. In reply to his most eloquent words, Dugu Zhanshan spat in his face. Those are the words of friggin' morons. Zhuo Fan, you are a wise man, so how can you lower yourself to a commoner's thinking? Also, did you not take the helm of the Luo clan after the clan head's death, looking after the siblings? Why then, I only see loyalty. Kid, your actions speak for yourself of your loyalty and devotion. So what's the problem with being loyal to one's nation? Isn't that the same? It should be the same thing to you. Why do you insist on avoiding enlisting? The walls were quite thin here, and the wounded next door heard Dugu Zhanshan's raving loud and clear. Dugu Jianchen wants Zhuo Fan in the army, but can he reign in this soaring demonic dragon? Luo Yuncheng and Chu Qingcheng thought this as well. Even though their glaring never faltered, their ears were idle to pick up on the marshal's shouts. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan gritted his teeth. This old guy just won't quit. And sighed, Marshal Dugu, we are neither friends nor enemies. Please refrain from dragging me into this hell. How is the army and fighting for your nation hell? Dugu Jianchen was stunned. Zhuo Fan squinted and roared. As they say, after 3 years in the army, even an ugly broad would look like a courtesan. This will deal a devastating blow to my standards and ruin my prospects to raise a family. PFF, the girls in the wounded ward stifled their giggles, while Luo Yuncheng and Chu Qingcheng sure had an active imagination, evident by their red cheeks. Then their eyes met and jealousy reared its ugly head. Which one of us is that punk going to take to raise a family? The 4 tigers of Tianyu and Luo Yunhai were awkward, to say the least. They've been in the army for 5 years. Did that mean their standards were out of whack? But Dugu Jianchen's shout came soon after to save their image. More crap. Where the hell did you hear that nonsense? How could 3 years lead to such a drastic change? The 5 in the ward nodded. Well said, Marshal. Dugu Jianchen then followed with, that only happens after 5 years. My 4 godsons need 6 years, by the looks of them, to see any girl a babe. As for Yunhai, it's too soon to tell. The 5 wanted to crawl into a corner and die. The feel of the others' eyes on them only made it worse. Godfather, enlist him if you want to, but why in God's name are you dragging us into this? It was fine, and all of these old army stories helped, but all you're doing is making yourself look bad. Us as well, what a rotten godfather. The 5 sighed and buried their heads in the pillows. Dugu Jianchen was being serious now. None of that matters. Didn't I tell you? You'll be a soldier for 1 year, then be my staff officer. Those things don't apply to you. Why not make me one from the start? Zhuo Fan scratched his head. Dugu Jianchen squinted and snapped. Impossible. In my army one needs to do military service. One can only be promoted based on merits. How can I just make you one from the start? Everyone will object. But don't worry, once in the corps, I'll give you plenty of chances to show your ability and you'll be promoted in no time. Zhuo Fan sighed, seeing Dugu Jianchen so stubborn like a hustler. He left Zhuo Fan without a way to deal with him. Fine, but on one condition. Zhuo Fan nodded in the end. Dugu Jianchen's eyes sparkled. Name it. I'll do my best to accommodate you. All marshal, would you be so kind as to lend me your status for a short month? I could get used to being a marshal myself. You think the army is a game. Dugu Jianchen shook his head, but then he eyed Zhuo Fan skeptically. What for? What else? To sweep the land and pacify the empire. Zhuo Fan roared his loyalty. Dugu Jianchen said in a rush, stop messing around. This army can't move as you wish. It's fine. Won't I have the appropriate rank a year later? At that time I can just kill and smash whoever and whenever. Zhuo Fan giggled. Panicking inside, Dugu Jianchen now realized he had only paid attention to Zhuo Fan's talent and not his many remarkable feats. I can't take the same approach I took with Luo Yunhai when teaching him. Or when he gets the army at his beck and call, he'd leave the nation wide open for attack. His eyes were swiveling, unclear what choice was best here. No, I can't have him fly through the ranks. I'll have to stamp out his rebellious nature in the army. Zhuo Fan had a knowing grin. I know what you're planning. But no matter, I'm the best there is when it comes to roping someone to my side. It won't take me even a year to turn the 3 million Dugu army into the Zhu army. At that point, being a general or not would hardly make a difference. You don't say. I am giving my all here, but who knows when we will have to face Regent Estate on the field of battle. But if you think you can wrest control of one of the 4 pillars, the Empire's army, then be my guest. Zhuo Fan laughed. I have never thought about it like that. But now, Marshal, you have to enlist me. Even if you have your whole army infected with gayness rather than some twisted broads, I'd still go for it. No. It seems someone had a change of heart. Dugu Jianchen was frantically shaking his hands and sweating buckets. That was close. I almost welcomed the devil with open hands. Granted, he was talented, but if there was one thing he truly excelled at, it was blowing things out of proportion. In the off chance I can't tame him, the Dugu army will be under his thumb and will corrupt the Empire's greatest weapon. I better reconsider whether to let this guy in. Dugu Jianchen said bashfully, Zhuo Fan, since you find enlisting to be such a pain. I won't force you. No, I think it'll be a blast, all martial. No, I've never forced anyone to do anything in my life. It's best you stay and look after the Luo clan. Oh right, the 3 house lords are here as well. I better go see them. What about my enlistment? Zhuo Fan shouted after the scampering Dugu Jianchen. Zhuo Fan watched the mighty and awe-inspiring Dugu turn into a scaredy cat with a snicker. TCH, I get far more out of developing the Luo clan than stealing your 3 million army. Then again, having Dugu army by my side is not bad either. Zhuo Fan mused, his eyes flashing. Dugu Jianchen just left the room and turned to the wounded ward. It seemed that Sword Marquis Abode, Veiled Dragon Pavilion, and Drifting Flowers Edifice's leaders were also present. They all saluted Dugu Zhanshan. "Thank you, Marshal, for coming to their rescue. No thanks needed. This is my responsibility, although someone else saved them in the end while I was only a mediator." Dugu Zhanshan waved. The leaders chuckled. Grandmother then frowned. "Marshal, I was meaning to ask, are you intent on conscripting Zhuo Fan? Could I ask you to postpone it until after the esoteric debate?" "Of course. As for conscripting, I still need to consider it. There's no need to fret," Dugu Zhanshan stated. Zhuo Fan's vision of the army had scared the crap out of him. The kid seems capable of anything. He may very well have a way of turning the Dugu army into his personal army, and he wasn't about to give his army away just for one array master. Dugu Zhanshan was thankful he came back to his senses and avoided a disaster. Zhuo Fan took this moment to enter and greet the House Lords. The three nodded in reply. They could finally breathe easier seeing him safe and sound. To be blunt, there would be no Luo clan without Zhuo Fan, the truest underdog. Luo clan wouldn't stand a chance in the esoteric debate, whether as an ally or enemy, but with Zhuo Fan back in town, the clan was in full force. "Steward Zhuo, the entire Luo clan is injured. We can't make it to tomorrow's fight. Will you, as their steward, step forth?" Grandmother smiled widely, hoping to see the miracle that was Zhuo Fan in action after a 5-year break. Shrugging, Zhuo Fan said, "Of course, it is my duty to represent the Luo clan. It is time for the Luo clan to stand abreast with all of you. That will depend on Steward Zhuo's first battle." Long Yifi raised an eyebrow. They all looked at each other and burst out laughing, all eager to see Zhuo Fan put on a good show tomorrow. The next day, Dragon Cloud City's fighting stage was enveloped by a roaring crowd shouting their cheers. On the stage, 2 youths stood thrilled and panting, surrounded by either dead or wounded people. The winner of today's battle hails from Crescent Sword City, the Zhu clan. They are advancing to the final battle. A profound heaven expert stepped on stage and gestured at the youths. The crowd exploded with applause, raising the excitement of the two. They left the stage and walked to their cheering clan. "Big brother, second brother, congratulations." Zhu Ningxiang gave them a hug and a sweet smile. The two were Zhu Gang and Zhu Lin. After the horrors of Blue Expanse City, Zai Tianyang saved them, and their clan became Sword Marquis Abode's vassal. It was the only way they could have joined the esoteric debate. "Ganger Linner, you've done well. You are now ready to join the final battle and help Sword Marquis Abode's young masters in their fight." Zhu Wanlong laughed with pride. "Remember, never let down our clan and protect the 2 young masters." Patriarch Zhu Dingshan nodded at the side. Thanks to Zai Tianyang, their clan was under Sword Marquis Abode's wing, cared for and well supplied. But this left them uneasy, and they were going to use this chance to repay their help. This was the reason for joining the esoteric debate. Zhu Gang and Zhu Lin nodded, filled with battle spirit. Zai Tianyang stood next to Zhu Ningxiang, sighing, "Uncle, why did you let the brothers join such a cruel battle? This time's battle will be far more deadly and vicious than any of the past ones. I fear. Second young master, I have made my decision. We cannot go on receiving Sword Marquis Abode's grace without giving anything back. Please give us this chance to show our gratitude." Zhu Wanlong cupped his hands. Zai Tianyang sighed. The profound heaven expert on the stage suddenly said, "The next fight will be between Drifting Flower City's Dong clan and Flood City's Yu clan." 2 familiar figures walked on stage. Zai Tianyang's eyes brightened. "Who knew we'd see them here? Aren't they Brother Dong and Sister Wanner? You know them as well?" Zhu Ningxiang was startled. Zai Tianyang looked at her instead. "Ninger, how do you know them? Drifting Flowers Edifices and Sword Marquis Abode are allies. We met when the 2 houses gathered for negotiation. Brother Dong is somewhat frivolous, but Wanner is very nice." Ninger smiled. "How do you know them? Disciples of the 7 houses hardly ever meet with people from second-rate clans." We met in Drifting Flower City. I hear that Dong Xiaoan and the kid have something going on between them." Zai Tianyang grinned, thinking of having a little payback. Zhu Ningxiang looked closer at Dong Xiaoan and muttered, "No wonder she never said anything when the topic about who she likes came up." Correct, the 2 Dong siblings were those Dongs. Because of their ties with Zhuo Fan back in Drifting Flowers City, and having gotten familiar with Drifting Flowers Edifice's leaders, the Dong clan had been on a swift rise. They had long outstripped the title of vassal clan, and moved to Drifting Flowers City to become their trusted aide. The old master of the Dong clan couldn't be happier, and stated that they had to go and see their most treasured benefactor in the flesh. Of course, such a thing wasn't so easy to achieve, not with how busy Zhuo Fan was. If he wasn't blowing something up, he was beating the life out of someone. The likes of him could hardly squeeze a meeting between his murderous rampage and endless mayhem. Thanks to Drifting Flowers Edifice's help, Dong Tianba had entered the profound heaven stage, displaying his majestic air on today's stage. In but half an hour, he and his sister won over their opponents and arrived next to their clansmen and friends. Young Master Zai, Uncle Zai, Sir Zai, Brothers Zai, how do you do? Dong Tianba cupped his hands in pride. Dong Xiaoan bowed as well with a smile. The others nodded, while Zhu Gang had eyes only for Dong Xiaoan and her charming smile. Everyone could tell what he was thinking. Brother Zhu, how have you been? I never thought our clans would enter the final battle. We will be fighting alongside, it seems, ha ha ha. A portly man came over. Dong Tianba and Dong Xiaoan cupped their hands. Dad. Zhu clan greeted in kind, but only when he saw Zai Tianyang did the old man greet back. He was the Dong clan head. Dong clan head pointed at Zhu Gang. Young master is of great talent. Could I be so bold as to ask if you're married? No. Zhu Dingshan smiled, his meaning clear. Dong clan head nodded and smiled at his daughter. What a fine coincidence, neither is my daughter. I find our clans so friendly that I was wondering. Dad. Dong Xiaoan gave him the stink eye and was sullen. Zhu Ningxiang could see herself in her and shook her head. The two already had someone and were not going to just change their minds at the drop of the hat. Meanwhile, the profound heaven expert on the stage said, the next fight is between Sun Spire City's Han clan and Blue Expanse City's Sun clan. Shuddering, the Zhu clan turned to the stage. Blue Expanse City used to be their turf while being Hell Valley's vassal. Since betraying their patron, Blue Expanse City fell under another clan's jurisdiction. Bluntly put, the Sun clan was their replacement, Hell Valley's brand new lapdog. The Sun clan only sent a man and a woman to fight against 50 bone-tempering experts led by 2 profound heaven cultivators. Such power among second-rate clans made it a seeded clan, closely approaching the qualifications to be a first-rate clan. Against such strength, the Sun clan sent merely 2, a really odd pair. Their eyes released a bloody glow and closely resembled monsters rather than humans. Not even their appearances could be distinguished. The sight of them standing there sent shivers among many, as if they were demons who sprang out of hell, but upon closer look, they were only peak bone-tempering cultivators. He, 2 peak bone-tempering cultivators want to mess with 50 experts. The leading youth snickered. From your demonic look, living must have been hard and you've come for the sweet release of death, right? Ha ha ha, the others laughed as well. That demonic man, however, was wrapped in black energy as it suddenly jumped from him with a roar. A veritable fountain of blood bloomed, while the Han clan youth fell with a perplexed look. He was still wondering how a peak bone-tempering cultivator killed him. SSS, the others gasped. Han clan's laughter died and watched the pair of enemies in shock. How could a fresh, profound heaven expert die in one blow? A sneak attack for sure. With a shout, the 50 men from Han clan stormed the pair. The two only had a creepy grin as they turned into black mist and roamed among them. The slaughter began. Not of the pair, but of those 50 experts as the 2 crazed monsters were unleashed upon them. Wails, sobbing, and horror grated on the audience's ears. In just 15 minutes, they were the only ones standing, while the corpses around them had their throats ripped out. Blood soaked into the arena, and the dead stare of the bodies gave a glimpse into the cruelty they had just suffered. Zhu Ningxiang had long since covered her eyes. Zai Tianyang's brow was furrowed. What made these guys act with such brutality? The girl on stage suddenly snapped her head back and pointed at the Zhu clan with a nasty grin. Traitor of Hell Valley, you will die in the final battle by our hands. None of you will live. We will cleanse the Hell Valley of its traitors. Your time will soon come. Hi. The Zhu clan felt a shiver run down their very core. This pair was way too abnormal. Not just the sons, but even the father and patriarch felt their hair stand on end. Zai Tianyang stepped up and shielded Zhu Ningxiang as he roared, "Stop barking. I would like to see you try and touch the Zhu clan. Second young Master Zai, our house lord's son will deal with you and we will deal with the traitorous Zhu clan." Snickering, the girl threw her head back. The creepy way she talked and her posture only worked to deepen one's fear. The man next to her said, "Don't forget our main objective, the Luo clan. Zhu clan is just a side dish. You're after the Luo clan." Zhu Ningxiang was worried. On the other hand, Zai Tianyang felt relief. A few days back he would have been worried as well, but not now, because the Luo clan had recovered their pillar, the demon archon Zhuo Fan. With him around, these weirdos looked like imps in comparison. Going after the Luo clan was a death sentence. But the man saw Zhu Ningxiang's distress and reveled in it. "Yes, we will find the Luo clan and slaughter them all. Especially that Zhuo Fan, we will tear him limb from limb." Zhu Ningxiang's pure heart was stuck in her throat, vexed over Zhuo Fan's safety. "Brother Zhuo, 2 bad men are after you." While Zai Tianyang almost burst out laughing. "Dude, have you even seen Zhuo Fan? Have you seen his power? What is your boasting based on hot air? Not even a moron will believe such a lame joke." But then he saw Zhu Ningxiang sick with worry and amended his thoughts with a twitch of his cheek, Ninger excluded. She was no moron, just naive. "Look, Hell Valley's men are here," someone from the crowd shouted, and everyone turned their heads to see Yu Wanshan and his elder detail. He stood on the highest point with a somber look, flanked by Yu Ming and the rest of their other disciples participating in the final battle. As this place was the fighting grounds for third- and second-rate clans, with how not even first-rate clans would come here to watch, least of all the 7 houses, there were no honorary seats for them. What stirred the biggest shock was the sudden appearance of Hell Valley, taking seat at the highest position. They could see the whole stage from there, but it was also a strategic position to emphasize the usual disdain the 7 houses had for these puny clans. But what was up with this sudden arrival? Who had caught their eye? Were they going to enjoy the show alongside them, or was there a new star on the rise no one knew about? If it was the latter, who was this person, and what was he capable of to garner such ostentatious audience? The crowd grew restless with their speculations. Sun Clan's creepy guy noticed Yuanshan's imposing figure and showed a morbid smile. See, Valley Lord, you came to personally watch us crush your clans. This is how much Hell Valley values us. Yeah, we're not like those zoo traders. Valley Lord finds us indispensable. Sun Clan's creepy girl showed a morbid smile herself. Zoo Clan only gave the dude a cursory glance, while being concerned about Hell Valley's real intentions. Hell Valley came to cheer for the Sun Clan. How is that even possible when they have never shown such care for any vassal before? Zai Tianyang mocked, cocky brats, Yuanshan isn't so bored as to watch a couple of aberrations. Say that again, what else would Valley Lord you be here for? There's only us around who is Hell Valley's vassal, the girl roared. Zai Tianyang shrugged. The 7 houses only ever cared about each other and never about some squirming ants trying to get some praise. You're disillusioned if you think he came here to cheer for you. And then another sudden cry of shock came, followed by another unexpected arrival. And while Hell Valley's men were emitting deadly auras, the newcomers were graceful women with thin veils, drifting flowers edifices. Grandmother was in the lead as Chu King Cheng was still nursing her wound. Behind her were her entire overseer contingent and the drifting flowers edifices disciples participating in the final battle. Even Zio Dandan was among them, darting her eyes around and looking for her special someone. Here comes another lovesick lass. That punk will be so annoyed, Zai Tianyang snickered. Dong Clan head puffed up his chest and took on a prideful air. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Drifting Flowers Edifices overseers to come support us. Our Dong Clan is so cherished. We may be Drifting Flowers Edifices' trusted aid, but to receive such care, ha ha ha. The guy was grinning from ear to ear and making the Zhu clan envious. His position seemed to be so high that even the edifice lord came in person. Only Zai Tianyang sighed. It seems narcissism is an inherent trait of these vassals. Not just aberrations are susceptible to it, but even normal people. What in the hell gave you the idea that the 7 houses came to see you specifically? Then came the third cry of the day. Zhu clansmen watched overwhelmed with joy. Why? Because Sword Marquis Abode Zai Xiaofeng was leading Zai Tiansheng and his elders over. Patriarch Zhu Dingshan was touched to the core as he showed off to the Dong clan head. Ha ha ha, clan head, Sword Marquis Abode values us quite a lot as well. Wait, he didn't get to finish his haughty words as Zai Tianyang interrupted him. Everyone, I know fully well my words may sound crass, but could you cool off for a second and stop with the self-important attitude? Those house lords haven't even looked at you once, so how can you say they've come for you? The sudden wake-up call made them realize the wisdom in his words. If not for us, then who? This was a fighting stage for the 7 houses' vassals. Zai Tianyang shook his head. If there was anything the 7 houses paid attention to, besides each other of course, was strength. Who else but that punk could stir up so many of them to come here? While they were vexed by this conundrum, Pil King Hall appeared with a 4th cry. Yan Bogong led Yan Bangi and Yan Fu with his elders over. They were soon followed by Mary Woods' house lord Lin coming with his elders and a bouncing Lin Xuanfeng. After a night of healing, Lin Xuanfeng's wound was closed. Even though he hopped about with a pale face, the audience was amazed. Is this forest fleeting dragon, one of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix? Why does he have only 1 leg? How would he fleet through the forest now? Few were aware of the circumstances regarding forest fleeting dragon's misery, how the vile soaring demonic dragon ripped his leg clean off. But the biggest shock of all was what came next. The head of the 7 houses, Regent Estate, Huanpu Tianyuan, was leading the group, with Regent Estate's steward, Ling Wucheng, on his left, and his eldest, the head of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, heaven-shaking dragon lord Huanpu Kingshan, on his right. Behind them was a team of profound heaven elders, 30 in number. The frightening display made everyone's hair stand on end. The other 6 houses also paused at their entrance. Regent Estate's power was unquestionably the highest among the houses. It had the ambition to swallow the others for good reason. It would have been a waste of their might if they didn't aim for at least this much. Under the riveting gazes of the crowd, Huanpu Tianyuan made his way forward with a regal air and boundless power that stopped anyone from breathing within 300 meters. Only when Regent Estate took the foremost position did the man slowly withdraw his power, but the damage or deterrence was done. In his wake, the people were left shivering and gasping. That was enough to rouse up even the narcissistic trio of clans from their arrogance. The presence of all the 7 houses had nothing to do with them at all. Thinking about what loudmouths they were seconds ago, they started blushing like crazy. The Dong Zhu and even the Sun clan's aberrations were stiff and awkward. This only helped to fuel their curiosity. Why were they all here? For whom? Zai Tianyang knew it all along, of course. The profound heaven expert on the stage stood on pins and needles under the stare of all those mighty figures. He shakily took out the roster. He was the king of this stage, but not anymore. 'Cause now he was a bottom feeder among all these big shots. He swallowed down while shaking and shouted, "The next fight will be between Zephyr City's Wan clan and Wingay City's Luo clan." Every head turned to the dark entrance of the stage to see the greatest underdog in this esoteric debate, Luo clan. Even though the Luo clan's 28 strong men were quite something, the more they advanced the harder it became. Case in point, they left the last battle while supporting each other. Their opponent, the Wan clan, was a renowned second-rate clan. It even had 3 profound heaven youths. The crowd was eagerly awaiting for the Luo clan, but their prospects at winning were slim at best. Tap, tap, tap. A light noise was heard as Luo Yunhai was coming out on crutches, leaning on his sister towards the stage. The crowd's shock passed and was replaced by sighs. They all saw Luo Yunhai's valor and might, fearless as a tiger. And this tiger was an indispensable force in the Luo clan's team. Yet now he had an unexplained wound, which only crippled their chance of victory even more. Wan clan's 20 strong men were already on the stage and were now snickering. Victory's ours, but then a plain figure slowly made itself noticed by walking behind the siblings. He caught the attention of all the houses. Regent Estate, Hell Valley, and their other 2 allies bore a deep hatred for Zhuo Fan. They suddenly released a deadly aura that made the audience shiver. It all makes sense now. The 7 houses came for him. Playing with his flickering thunder ring, Zhuo Fan walked without a care in the world. His deep gaze, his far-off look seemed to find everyone beneath him. This was how Zhuo Fan followed after Luo Yuncheng, with a charming and faint smile. The biggest shock was received by those who didn't know Zhuo Fan. Who is he? Why are the 7 houses here for him? Dong Tianba and Dong Xiaoan went slack-jawed. They never ever thought they'd meet him here. Dong Xiaoan in particular, her gaze was filled with complicated emotions. Joy, sadness, and a hint of relief. Zhu Wanlong and Zhu Dingshan were shocked as well. They never thought that the young brat they met in Albeast Mountain Range would appear here. Soaring Demonic Dragon, the shout had caused another round of shock among the crowd as their eyes never strayed from Zhuo Fan. He is the Luo clan's strongest, the same Soaring Demonic Dragon on par with 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. The Luo clan's main force has come out in the open. The crowd watched eagerly, thrilled to witness a good show. Old Pang, stay here and look after them. Zhuo Fan spoke behind him to Captain Pang and the young guards before walking on stage alone. The crowd wondered, alone against Wan clan's 20 strongest, but then recalled that he had a title akin to the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix and got excited at the prospect. This was what everyone wanted to see, the extent of power one man possessed to make the 7 houses pay so much attention to. Brother Zhuo, fingers crossed, Zhu Ningxiang cheered with an adorable face. Staggering for a second there, Zhuo Fan waved back slightly with a smile. Dong Xiaoan waved as well but found him not even noticing her and was peeved. Ninger, are you and Brother Zhu close? He saved my clan's lives. Zhu Ningxiang nodded but then found Dong Xiaoan gloomy and mumbled, Sister Wanner, sorry, it's fine. He never even looked at me anyway. Dong Xiaoan shook her head sullen. Dong clan head gleaned something out of all of this and asked Dong Tianba, is that youth who I think it is? Dong Tianba nodded and sighed. His sister had been love-struck since back in Drifting Flowers City. Her crush never spared her a glance while she pined for him every moment. I can't tell if she is foolish or silly. Darling, good luck. Crush them all, a cute voice came from Drifting Flowers Edifice's side and slammed into the ears of the audience. Zio Dandan was practically jumping in her seat, gesticulating wildly to make sure he saw her. Zhuo Fan held his head. What's this idiot doing here? Is Drifting Flowers Edifices so understaffed? How is she fit to join the 7 houses' final battle with her cultivation? Cannon fodder is more like it. Pulling Zio Dandan back down, Peony Overseer cursed, why can't you act proper instead of some lovesick maiden? Humph, me and Darling have already tied the knot. He'll come around, Zio Dandan pouted, still clinging to her hope. Sighing, Peony Overseer said, this girl has lost it. On the other hand, Zai Tianyang was laughing his head off, using this chance to gossip with Zhu Ningxiang. Ninger, see that? This punk is a womanizer. He got another one just like that, and I can attest to having seen them kissing in public myself. Zai Tianyang laughed inside. Time to cash in on the scheme I cooked back in Drifting Flowers edifices. Zhu Ningxiang's eyes were fixed on Zhuo Fan, having a sinking and uncomfortable feeling in her heart. The looks Zhuo Fan got from the audience were odd, to say the least. This kid's the bomb. He goes around the 7 houses, spreading chaos and destruction while not forgetting to sow the seeds of love. Lady Killer Demonic Dragon is far more appropriate. Steward Zhu, you're a true man of mercy to show such restraint in your travels. Luo Yuncheng towered behind Zhu Fan with a sweet smile. And yet the killing intent in her eyes made her close to a demon. Zhu Fan shrugged it off. I only did what I had to. The rest was a force of circumstance out of my control. Force of circumstance, you say? Luo Yuncheng teased and held his face. Zhu Fan was caught off guard. What are you doing? Force of circumstance. Grinning, Luo Yuncheng looked at him longingly and smooched him. Zhu Fan felt her soft lips but didn't get to relish in the sensation as Luo Yuncheng swished her head away blushing. But the look in her eyes was that of a blissful maiden. Steward Zhu, good luck. Luo Yuncheng batted her eyes at him, then shot a glance towards Drifting Flowers edifices. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were spitting fire right about now. Her teeth crunching so hard even grandmother could hear. Zio Dandan was having a hard time swallowing down her anger. She was ready to jump at that hussy's throat. Fortunately, Peony Overseer was there to rein her in. Who is she? How dare she force herself on Darling? That's their clan's matter. It has nothing to do with you. Peony Overseer sighed. Zio Dandan whined, that's my darling, of course it has. Zai Tianyang found the ever-sweet and cheerful Zhu Ningxiang wearing a mask of anger and sorrow. This is a cat fight only a man can stir. But why do I get the feeling even my cute and lovely Ninger wants to join the battlefield as well? The audience was even more shocked. That's no demonic dragon, that's a love doctor I tell you. While actually, they felt jealousy and anger. Being a skirt chaser is a skill as well. Huangpu Tianyuan twiddled his mustache with a cold eye. Sir Leng, who among these girls is his Achilles heel? They all have a crush on him. But he ignores them completely. It's too soon to tell if any of them can be called his weakness. This needs further observation. Leng Wucheng's eyes flashed. Huangpu Tianyuan nodded. Zhu Fan was out of it for a second there, then saw Luo Yuncheng's rosy cheeks and rubbed her head. Young Miss Luo, you're not getting weird on me, are you? You're the weird one. Now get on stage. With a glare, Luo Yuncheng pushed him forward. With that charming and touching look, she made quite a number of hearts skip a beat in the crowd. Zhu Fan shook his head and went on. Just then 2 figures wrapped in black energy popped up in front of him. The Blue Expanse City Sun Clan duo. Looking at the 2 creepy aberrations, Zhu Fan was stunned. You need something? Hi, Zhu Fan, you can't tell who we are. The man let out an eerie laughter, followed by the girl. Zhu Fan shook his head. Sorry, I've sinned so much I don't keep track of how many I've wronged. If you're here for revenge, kindly wait your turn. I'll be with you in a second to send you to the afterlife. Hi, Zhu Fan, you're as arrogant as ever. But we aren't the same as before. This time it's you who dies. The man's eyes flashed bloody red. Zhu Fan nodded. I get it now. I've never seen such ugly freaks in my life. Going through such a nasty makeover, of course I couldn't recognize the current you. The crowd erupted in laughter. Even the girls who were glaring at each other giggled, breaking off their cat fight. Only the dude on stage was pissed. Zhu Fan, that's enough. Another shout came, and 2 more figures wrapped in black smoke appeared as they landed in front of Zhu Fan. They were old men in the 5th layer of Profound Heaven stage. But their faces were as creepy and disturbing as the duos. Zhu Fan, you've mocked and derided us ever since we met. It's because of you we look like this. Today we will take your head as revenge, one of the old men said savagely. Luo Yuncheng frowned. You came for revenge, but we do not even know how we've offended you. Humph, Yuncheng, have you forgotten? Destruction of our clan, being cast out, are these not reasons enough? The old man spat. Luo Yuncheng was still puzzled, but Zhu Fan caught onto something and mocked. Oh, so it's you. Who knew you ended up so pathetic and turned into freaks? Now that you've lost all reason to live, you've come to me for reincarnation. We came to kill you or die together. The old man's mind was set. Snickering, Zhu Fan said, even if you came to kill me, you ought to get in line. After I deal with the ones on stage, I don't mind finishing off the lot of you as well. The 4 nodded. As the saying went, know thyself and your enemy, and you'd be ever victorious. It paid to know what the other party was capable of. So the 4 cleared a path for Zhu Fan to go on stage. By now, the 20 strong fighters on stage were grave. They had lost the mockery and disdain they had for the bone-tempering Zhu Fan. They just found out that he can stand tall like 6 dragons and 1 phoenix and changed their thinking. How were they going to beat such a monster? Heck, not even a first-rate clan could do him in. But since they were on stage already, the fight was unavoidable. They came to esoteric debate in hopes of coming under the wing of the 7 houses after all. This made every fight a chance to show their spirit and worth, a chance they would never miss. Soaring Demonic Dragon, come, Wan Clan's leader cupped his hands, ready for battle. He was sweating buckets, but that didn't stop him from braving through the fear. Wait, Zhuo Fan smiled. My Luo clan will definitely enter the final battle, and this is too much of a hassle. So in order to move things along, let all clans from third to first rate step in. If I lose, we walk. If I win, we'll go straight to the final battle, fighting with the 7 houses. SSS, a round of gasps echoed. He wants to fight every clan alone. That was just too outrageously cocky. His words only sparked anger in every clan present, while only the 7 houses looked on calmly. They were the only ones who knew all too well of Zhuo Fan's cunningness and deceit. The clans were outraged at Zhuo Fan's haughty declaration, while also terrified of the one they called Soaring Demonic Dragon. The profound heaven expert directing the fight said to Zhuo Fan, "This isn't in the rules. What matters is strength. That's how one earns their right to participate in the final battle." Grinning, Zhuo Fan stuck out his chin as he turned to the 7 houses, and it's a perfect time to show them who they're up against. Such ego to consider himself the 7 houses' equal. He instantly earned the disdain of the crowd, while those that knew of his exploits with the 7 houses thought, the kid sure is qualified. Huangpu Qingshan stepped forward and watched the stage coldly. The appearance of Regent Estate's eldest young master shocked them all. They soon heard a clear and mighty voice ringing in their ears. The words had such impact they almost had a heart attack. Do as per his wishes. But Huangpu Qingshan drew his arm over the crowd. I declare that anyone who brings me Zhuo Fan's head, their clan will become Regent Estate's vassal. SSS, after a round of gasps, a deathly silence ensued. The clans were so overwhelmed they couldn't dare believe their ears. This is godsent. One little head was enough to skip the cruel and deadly esoteric debate's last battle and just come under Regent Estate's wing. What they didn't know, however, was that this dream was closer to a nightmare than reality. But the promise of greatness robbed their minds of what was to come. Their eyes were fixed on Zhuo Fan, wishing they were already holding his head. All they were waiting for now was that profound heaven expert's signal, and they'd be onto him like wolves. No one even stopped to think that this free meal could be too hard to even chew. Was Zhuo Fan's title of Soaring Demonic Dragon, on par with 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, for naught? Young Master Huangpu, you're sending them to their deaths. Zhuo Fan was carefree as he showed an evil grin to Huangpu Qingshan. Huangpu Qingshan responded with the same smile, "Isn't this what you wanted?" Then they laughed. Zhuo Fan wanted to cause a sensation, all right, to establish Luo clan's position in the upcoming final battle. So the more people that jumped on his sword, the better. While Huangpu Qingshan never once believed these second- and third-rate clans had any good seeds among them to even harm Zhuo Fan. He was using them to see Zhuo Fan's limit and develop contingencies. Each side understood the other's intent flawlessly, all while using each other. It was a win-win scenario. The only losses here would be just your run-of-the-mill rock for brains suicidal morons. The 7 houses noticed this as well, and they were stunned looking at the laughing duo. These two are devious and cruel men of ambition. They gazed far into the horizon. In this esoteric debate, the winner would come from one of them. But as the world wasn't big enough for the 2 of them, they had to settle their score here and now. Or the world would be plunged into chaos at their hands, ripped apart and burned to cinders. The House Lords watched them with glinting eyes. The esoteric debate was going to revolve around these 2 monsters, Huangpu Qingshan and Zhuo Fan, each leading his own faction of houses, something unheard of in the past esoteric debates. The battle for unification was underway, and nothing or anyone could stop it. All that was left was to see who had the last laugh. This was something privy to the 7 houses only. Those crickets downstairs only knew how to fight among each other for scraps. The presiding profound heaven expert got his nod of approval and flew up high, soon followed by his clear words. Luo clan's qualifying fight for the final battle begins. Roar. The clans flung themselves like mindless beasts at Zhuo Fan. They were all spectators turned opportunists. What used to be innocent bystanders were now fired up by the smell of blood and glory. They were all just one gory head away from becoming the foundation of their clan's endless fame. Who could fight the temptation? Perhaps they were lucky enough and would even get it, and the number who thought so was by no means small. As such, the referee's words were marked by a veritable flood of people storming the stage. It was close to 10,000 people, with plenty of bone tempering and profound heaven experts joining as well. The Wan clan already on stage was overwhelmed. Zhuo Fan was their opponent, but as things stood, did they even have a snowball's chance in hell to rob the guy's head from the masses? Luck was with them in that regard, being so close and all. Yet when they looked deep into Zhuo Fan's bottomless gaze, the 20 strong men found themselves frozen. The incoming tide behind them was oblivious, rushing onwards like clueless children swept by the promise of reward as they launched attacks on Zhuo Fan. The thousands of people swallowed Zhuo Fan until he was no longer visible. Zhu Ningxiang was worried, will brother Zhu be fine? Totally. With that punk's luck, not even the 7 houses can do anything to him, let alone these pests. Zai Tianyang comforted Ninger, but he was nonetheless frowning. But isn't thousands of people at once perhaps an overkill? The punk is amazing, sure, but there is also the danger of dying from exhaustion. Why is he waiting them out? Why isn't he thinning the crowd? Hi, no matter how strong, he is all alone against the tide. He is finished. A creepy laughter jarred his ear. The audience, or what was left of it, turned to the creepy man to hear him say, "A shame we are already under Hell Valley and cannot throw our lot with Regent Estate. We would have been in there cashing our luck otherwise." And true, Dong Clan Head nodded. Wanner glared at him. Dong Clan Head shook his head as he looked at the sea of people on the stage. These are cruel words, but that is reality. Regent Estate's bait is too enticing for anyone to resist. Not even the kid would have thought his egotistical words would stir such a reaction. Even if he dies, he only has himself to blame. Dong Clan Head sighed, as did Zhu Wanlong and Zhu Dingshan. Zhu Ningxiang and Dong Xiaoan watched on, plagued with worry. Dong Tianba and the Zhu clan's youths were frowning, but only Zai Tianyang had a mocking smile. Egotistical, of course he is, but have you ever seen how cautious he is? How could a brash and obnoxious kid ever manage to toy with Yugiki? Zai Tianyang was not one bit worried for Zhuo Fan's fate. He knew Zhuo Fan showed cockiness on the outside, but never actually did something unless he had a plan set in motion. An invisible ripple spawned in the center of the stage, swallowing it whole. The force of it had Huangpu Tianyuan squinting. He watched as the tide of people on the stage had blank stares before collapsing. All the contestants dropped on the ground one at a time, with the crazed and thirsty greed frozen on their faces. Those outside the stage stopped in their charge, watching the stage tensely. Zhuo Fan touched the buffed guy in front with his finger and let him collapse. The ground around him was littered with bodies, not that he cared, stepping over them in his conquering march. Like a king, he was stepping on the bodies of his enemies as he took his throne. Zhu Ningxiang and Dong Xiaoan were overjoyed while Dong Clan Head, Zhu Clan Head were shell-shocked. What just happened? What's wrong with them? The shock on everyone's faces was palpable. Zhuo Fan was uncaring, looking over the leftovers, still standing and cocking his finger with a nasty grin. There's still 1,000 left. Come and take my head if you want it. Swallowing dryly, they were now faltering. Their previous high had passed, as did their courage. The sight of an evil and grinning Zhuo Fan in the middle of thousands of bodies tended to do that to a feeble mind. Killing with intent, Huangpu Qingshan's eyes trembled. His quiet voice spread everywhere among the deathly silence. In an instant, everyone looked at Zhuo Fan in shock. Isn't that a radiant stage expert's ability? Why is a bone-tempering cultivator wielding it? The fear in their eyes couldn't be more pronounced. This was why so many people dropped lifeless without even a chance to fight back. The one that killed them was on par with a radiant stage expert. All the big shots from the 7 houses were overwhelmed at Zhuo Fan's power, having exceeded their expectations by a long shot. What was considered a freak body cultivator, harder than diamonds, had in a single step crossed over the profound heaven stage and went straight to using Radiant Stage's abilities, leaving these old fogies eating dust. Bluntly put, these 7 houses' big shots were so daft that not even one had touched upon the Radiant Stage, and that shame came crashing down, evident by their flushed faces. What is wrong with this generation? One freakier than the last. If these bags of bones were of Zhuo Fan's age, they'd be dancing in joy if they had the hope of even entering the profound heaven stage. But now it only brings us tears. Out with the old and in with the new, they always say. But the new has kicked us to the curb with this display. Sigh. As the old bones watched the imposing and daunting Zhuo Fan on stage, their eyes glistened with tears, feeling as if they had aged a few centuries on the spot. Huangpu Qingshan was having a hard time containing himself, evident by the gnashing teeth and clenched fists. He showed off killing with intent last night to flounce his almightiness and scare the living daylights out of Zhuo Fan. But come tomorrow, Zhuo Fan replied with the same coin, making his act anything but of a circus clown. Such a display of power would leave anyone wallowing in their refuse from fright. As to what Zhuo Fan did after this display, not only bitch-slapped him but threw him from the highest peak into the deepest abyss. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that his act yesterday was of foolishness. Zhuo Fan picked on his shame, and did what he liked doing best, egging Huangpu Qingshan on with an exaggerated middle finger and a quirk of his eyebrows. Words were hardly necessarily at this stage in getting his point across. Dumbess, Huangpu Qingshan's eyes were spitting flames at this point, having long crossed the limits of his tolerance. But Lang Wucheng held his shoulder, stopping him from acting out. By getting rid of these third- and second-rate clans, Zhuo Fan spoke aplenty. by killing with intent taken as his weapon of choice. He spat on Huangpu Qingshan's bravado while also slapping him around for good measure. Could any living being take it? And yet he did. He knew this was neither time nor place for such an altercation. All poisoner, have you ever seen the eldest young master lose his cool? Yu Yushin walked over to Yan Bangi. Shaking his head, Yan Bangi's face was grave, not even once. Same, but the punk sure knows how to push the eldest young master's buttons. He chuckled for a second before sighing. By the looks of it, the final battle revolving around 6 dragons and 1 phoenix for so many centuries has now turned into heaven-shaking Dragon Lord versus Soaring Demonic Dragon. All we can do is stay back and cheer like mere squires. We were so useless yesterday as well. Yan Bangi recalled how Zhuo Fan had popped up in his face and shuddered from how powerless he felt. He didn't want to admit it, not with how he scrunched his teeth, since when their prestige as 6 dragons and 1 phoenix was seen with mockery, Yan Bogong, leader of Pill King Hall, glanced at the two with calm, "Don't sell yourself short. You are very much needed in the plan to get ourselves rid of that little monster." Shuddering, the two recovered their fighting spirit. "Yeah, we just need a good plan and together we will waste him for good." Yan Fu grinned with hatred. While the two were quiet, Yu Yushin mocked him. Ha ha ha, what can you possibly do? Since when are you on the same level as us?" Yan Bangi couldn't help but smile and Yan Bogong chuckled. Yan Fu was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Ever since his master, Yan Song, suffered an untimely demise, he lost all support in Pill King Hall. His alchemy was very much well regarded still, but his poison arts paled to the likes of Yan Bangi, so he was kicked to the curb. It only worked to fuel his hatred for Zhuo Fan to new heights. He lost everything because of him. Back on the stage, all those greedy and power-hungry clans finally woke up from the allure of fame. They started drawing back further and further away. The referee landed on the corpse-filled stage and sighed at Zhuo Fan's insane power. In the millennium that passed, and in all the esoteric debates that were held, never had the preliminaries to the final battle yielded so many casualties. Although sad, he had no sympathy whatsoever. Their greed got them their deaths. They bet their lives for power and fame, but lost in the end. They got their just desserts. In this qualification round for the final battle, Luo clan is victorious, the old guy shouted. They all heard it, but they didn't applaud. Those that laid at Zhuo Fan's feet were their brothers, part of the same clans. Why would anyone congratulate their enemy for killing their men? Did that even make sense? The only thing they felt when looking at the slaughter was pain. Zhuo Fan had stepped on their kin to enter the final battle. Why the hell would they applaud? Their hearts were only capable of unbridled hatred now, not that Zhuo Fan cared. Every general climbed to his rank by stepping over a mountain of corpses. He had no need for eulogies and acclamations, only to be feared and obeyed. Old Pang, make a list with all the dead people's clans. I will pay a visit to each and every one of them. Zhuo Fan pointed at the corpse-filled stage. Old Pang got to work immediately. The relatives watched disgruntled, and some even had the courage to voice their indignation. Zhuo Fan, we don't need your hypocrisy. Don't think that some poor apology will be enough to atone for this slaughter. This earned the nods of the crowd. Apology atone? Quirking an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan felt he had heard the biggest joke ever. Ha ha ha, are you stupid or what? Since when did I start having regrets from killing? And you even went as far as thinking I'd apologize for squashing mere ants. Humph, let me be perfectly clear. When you went after me just now, wishing to get my head, I made sure to burn each one of you in my mind. I only want the list so I can pay a social visit and send you off with the rest of your clan and avoid any meddlesome folks in the future. Apologize, atone. Unlike all those stories where the guy gets the girl, I will be sure to take her from right under your noses, morons. SSS gasps of fear resounded everywhere. Is this guy human? He slaughtered so many, and yet he won't rest until he has committed genocide. Gone was vengeance from everyone's minds, and instead they shivered in fear, worrying if they'd even have a future. Maybe moving into mountains and avoiding this demon archon is for the best. They all paled and forgot everything about revenge. Leng Wucheng snickered appraise. This brat sure is crafty. People seek revenge out of survival. But when that is at risk, all the hatred evaporates. They will most likely run home and cover all of this up while leaving him a free path to the final battle. But this punk is a tyrant. He does not care for the people. Huangpu Tianyuan said. Leng Wucheng shook his head. A tyrant is called that only in the moment of his fall. That is when others gather their nerves to call him that. If he keeps on winning, he will always be a righteous lord. His actions will have no impact whatsoever as well. As you can see from his choice today, he instilled a powerful image on all present here that getting on Luo clan's bad sides or on the 7 houses' bad side made no difference. They'll end up dead either way, so who then will go against the Luo clan besides us? Gasping, Huangpu Tianyuan nodded. He is both ambitious and a ruler material. We need to nip him in the bud. Huangpu Tianyuan stood up and left. Seeing Regent Estate following their estate lord, the other 6 houses glanced one more time at Zhuo Fan before leaving as well. Staying any longer wouldn't net them any new information anyway. They had been introduced already to Zhuo Fan's other grand ability. Zhuo Fan sighed watching them go and went to Zhu Ningxiang and Zai Tianyang. What a coincidence. You are also joining the esoteric debate. He failed to notice, however, Leng Wucheng pausing and looking back at him with a wide grin. Estate lord, I may have found this brat's weakness. Leng Wucheng beamed at Huangpu Tianyuan. Huangpu Tianyuan raised an eyebrow. Sir Leng found out the cause behind his vanishing axe. No, but it is akin to a spatial array. We can only use another array to seal this ability. Leng Wucheng shook his head. If only Zhuo Fan was here to hear this, he'd have the shock of his life and praise Leng Wucheng's cunning eyes. The divine eye of the void's first stage's weakness was indeed a sealed space. But how do we trap him in an array? He is just too insidious to fall for it. Huangpu Tianyuan frowned. Leng Wucheng showed a vague smile. He is trickier than a fox, proving to be a hard opponent even for me. But even smart people act like an average person sometimes. Ho, Sir Leng must have a plan ready then. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes flashed. Leng Wucheng nodded and smiled. Big brother Zhu, congratulations on getting into the final battle. Zhu Ningxiang couldn't stop the sweet smile from gracing her face. Zhu Dingshan and Dong clan heads' hearts jumped from fear, despite knowing fully well that Zhuo Fan had always been on their side. It was all because his power was the biggest threat. The sight of Zhuo Fan slaughtering thousands of people with intent alone gave them the feeling of ants looking at a giant. He could kill them on a whim if he found them displeasing in any way. Who wouldn't shake in their boots? They had a stiff smile on their faces, but their backs were soaked. They were like deer in the headlights. The tiger had them in his sights, and even if his appetite was abated, their fear was very much real. Zhuo Fan was oblivious to the fear he evoked. He who had become a dreaded existence just minutes ago was now smiling and nodding. The others nodded stiffly with an awkward smile. He puffed up his chest as he looked at Zhu Ningxiang. That was going to happen in due time anyways. It will hardly make a difference when garbage throws itself at me, even if they are in the tens of thousands. They all laughed drily, but sweat poured out harder. His tone was haughty, but then the people thought about it from a different angle. Weren't Dong clan and Zhu clan average clans as well, garbage even? What would be their future? Wasn't he clearly mocking them in a convoluted way? It wasn't like the two could complain. Who told him to get strong enough to end their lives with a squeeze? Just smile and nod. Zhuo Fan was minding his own business, and with how often he was around big shots, he had no idea what waves his words were stirring in these two clan heads' minds. Zhu Ningxiang chuckled innocently, but then she frowned. Big brother Zhu, will you really end their clans? They just lost their relatives. On the stage, death is unavoidable, but going so far as to kill their whole clan afterwards is cruel. My clan was also on the verge of being wiped out, and I can relate. Please, see, could you just let them go? Well, Zhuo Fan frowned. Zhu Dingshan noticed the predicament and chastised. Ninger, Steward Zhu had his reason for doing it. You can't go and ruin his plans with your playfulness. Moreover, a true man never goes back on his word, even more so for Steward Zhu, who is a hero, a great. Fine, no problem. Zhu Dingshan didn't even get to teach his dear granddaughter about manners before Zhuo Fan just shrugged it off. I only meant to scare them anyway, to dispel any thoughts of going against me. Since I got what I wanted, there's no need to exterminate them. What do you take me for, a pitiless demon archon? Damn right. They all shook their heads but nodded in their minds. If you're no demon archon, what are the thousands of corpses doing on stage? Zhu Ningxiang was ecstatic. She felt for those pitiful clans deeply. Big brother Zhu doesn't need to go through a pointless slaughter. Zhu Fan smiled and ruffled her hair. His savage face showed a rare hint of being content. Zhu Dingshan was dumbstruck. He was looking to justify Zhuo Fan's cruel way all this time and even reproached his granddaughter. And yet Zhuo Fan actually agreed with his granddaughter's pleading instead of giving credence to his reasoning. Where would his face go when speaking to his juniors now? But seeing that Zhuo Fan had eyes for Ninger alone, the old man sighed, my face is useless here. Better leave them alone, lest I become a third wheel. Hey, hands off, don't you know mere acquaintances should never touch? Zai Tianyang burst into their corner of the world and flung Zhuo Fan's hand off Ninger's head. His jealousy was already burning strong, and seeing Zhuo Fan patting her was the last straw. Zhuo Fan saw right through him and sighed. Luo Yuncheng took this moment to barge in as well. Yeah, how could any respectable woman be touched so casually? Then she said in apology, Ninger, please don't mind it. Steward Zhu is a bore. I'll teach him some manners when we get back. It's all right. Young Miss Luo, don't blame big brother Zhuo. Zhu Ningxiang panicked. The gullible girl thought the young miss had the power to knock some sense into Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan frowned, feeling ticked off for some odd reason. Steward Zhuo, here's the list. Captain Pang came with a paper. Zhuo Fan scrunched it up and threw it. Never mind. Captain Pang was stumped. What's with Steward Zhuo? Why is he so angry? Zhuo Fan had no clue why, but felt something amiss when Zai Tianyang flung his hand off the girl's head. It only got worse when Luo Yuncheng showed up and her words stung him. He was now sulking and had no one to vent on. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan shouted, "Wait!" They all looked around to see where Zhuo Fan was looking. The Sun Clan's four were tiptoeing away. They were depressed. They worked so hard on their cultivation the last 5 years too. They thought with their strength, it was enough to at least take Zhuo Fan to his grave together, if not alone. But then they saw that monstrous Zhuo Fan turn into an abomination, killing with intent. The four of them had no chance whatsoever now. They would be finished in a blink. Oh, they still wanted revenge, of course, but that didn't mean becoming cannon fodder was in their plan. Only an idiot would jump right in when there was no chance of victory, so they chose to hightail out of there. Once Zhuo Fan figured out who they were, he no longer cared about them. But now he needed a good punching bag to blow off some steam, and they became the perfect targets. Zhuo Fan hardly ever got angry, especially the kind of dubious and inexplicable type of anger he was feeling right now. But now that he ran into these guys, he felt like the luckiest man alive. Staggering, the old man in front stiffly looked back as he used the same hoarse voice. "You need something. Are you serious? You're asking me? After you had the gall to shout that you'll kill me." Zhuo Fan smiled in anger, walking towards them while spouting, "Kai Rong, Kai Zioting," and the Sun Clan's father and daughter dropped the dumb act. The four shuddered as they turned, yet they were too scared to even look him in the eye. Luo Yuncheng's group jerked. They threw the four out of their clan, but who knew they'd end up looking like freaks of nature? Zhuo Fan cared not about their flimsy explanations and appeared right in front of the four as he taunted, "Come then. Weren't you gonna take revenge? I'll take you all on and even give you 2 free moves." Their faces sank, no longer arrogant as before, but down in the dumps. "What good will 2 moves do when you can kill us with intent alone? Don't feel like it." That only got Zhuo Fan's rage to tower higher and roared, "Since you have no guts, kneel. See how I put you in your place?" Regardless of how unwilling they were, their knees buckled. To kneel or not to kneel, that was the question. Kneeling was shameful, but most likely a better outcome than ending up a smear on the ground at this savage's hands. Life is ever precious. Face matters not, especially with our creepy looks. One after the other, they bent their knees and fell on Zhuo Fan's feet. Luo Yuncheng cried, "How did you all end up like this? How else?" The Hell Valley gave them some double-edged demonic method. A demonic emperor like Zhuo Fan saw through them in a flash as he cursed, "Just look at yourselves. You're neither human nor monster, and yet you still want to live. Is this the awe-inspiring power you all sought? Especially you. Instead of staying as an elder in the Luo clan, you went ahead and threw your whole lot with the Sun clan. What a fool." Zhuo Fan sputtered into Kai Rong's flushed face. Zhuo Fan had hardly had enough and kept on flinging curses. "Do you know why you look like this? It's what you deserve for being so adamant in becoming someone's lapdogs. Even as an elder of the Luo clans, you wanted to climb aboard Hell Valley. Now that you did, you're worth less than even a dog. Idiot, nitwit, dumbass, Nimrod." Zhuo Fan was on a roll. He was thorough in cursing out every bit of respect the four ever had. They couldn't even muster a retort. Luo Yuncheng glanced at Zhuo Fan with complicated thoughts. "Zhuo Fan, kill us or torture us. But stop with the insults." Kai Rong had had enough, it seemed. Zhuo Fan squinted. "Kill you? Why would I ever do that?" The four were startled and echoed, "You won't kill us?" "Of course not. I only care about 2 kinds of people. Friends to hang out with and enemies to kill." Grinning, Zhuo Fan added, "What do you suppose you are? Enemy?" Kai Rong tested. Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan snickered. "Friends, perhaps." Kai Rong's heart thumped with hope. Was Zhuo Fan absolving them? Was he going to help them? Zhuo Fan was cracking up and mocked them even harder. "Wrong, you're nothing to me. Just a bunch of clowns unworthy to kill and even less to call friends. Beat it. Live on like the dogs you are and have a taste of worldly pain as you reflect on your mistakes. I expect a good show on your part." With a grin, Zhuo Fan finally felt at peace, having cursed them and humiliated them so thoroughly. Shameless humiliation. The faces of the four were aflame, wishing they could go out fighting, and yet they kneeled there without a peep. Why were they here anyway? Did they come here only to get humiliated? Luo Yuncheng sighed and glanced at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan looked crazed in his enjoyment, shouting, "Why are you still here? Get lost already." Kai Rong's group shook their heads and left, but not before they heard Zhuo Fan sinking one last insult. "Do it like dogs. What are you standing around for when you're not even humans?" Shuddering, the four bit their lips fiercely. Zhuo Fan was towering over them with his mighty air and arrogance, yet all they could do was suffer. He was just that strong. Kai Rong wept as he crawled away with the other 3. Their image in the evening sun struck the picture of degradation, of stray dogs begging for mercy. Zhuo Fan barked on, trying to dispel that queer rage completely. People watched Zhuo Fan being thorough and humiliating these 4, leaving them without a shred of dignity. The more they saw, the greater their fear of Zhuo Fan became. They said a warrior could be killed but not shamed. And yet when these clan heads watched such naked display of abuse and mockery, they felt it was even worse than having their entire clan wiped out. Because visiting the underworld may be cruel and sad, but all clansmen would meet again in the afterlife. While the shamed would have to live on with this disgrace, in this nightmare built by harsh and cruel words, a fate worse than death. While Zhuo Fan was raining curses, his every word stung Zhu and Dong clan like daggers. Are we dogs or warriors? The Luo clan had Zhuo Fan as their pillar that even the 7 houses regarded with importance, and thus they could maintain their integrity. While to the average clan in this word, not being dogs would end up becoming their destruction. How could one have integrity when his entire existence was threatened? Oftentimes, they never wished to rise above their station, simply to survive. That was why they had integrity on the surface, while acting like dogs through their actions. Just that these 2 clans were lucky enough to get a good master, Drifting Flowers edifices and Sword Marquis abode, unlike how the cruel Hell Valley treated their vassals. So they may be dogs, but could venture in calling themselves dogs with pedigree. Taking deep breaths, Zhu clan head and Dong clan head glanced at each other, then shook their heads. Zhuo Fan and Luo clan were worlds apart from them. Steward Zhu, calm down. Why are you so angry? It's not worth stressing yourself over this. Captain Peng came to Zhuo Fan with a smile. Zhuo Fan shrugged, his face calm. I'm fine. I am not one to get angry over the likes of them. They are not worth it. I only abused them since it worked to show off my pretentious style. Captain Peng reeled and laughed dryly. What a reason to curse someone, how freakish. Only Luo Yuncheng bit her lip watching Zhuo Fan. Oh, sorry everyone, there are matters that I need to deal with. I shall take my leave. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands and left with Luo Yuncheng and company. The others replied in kind. Only Dong Xiaoan watched him grumbling. He never even looked at me. Dong clan head patted her shoulder and shook his head. Wanner, you and him are of different worlds. It's impossible. Dong Xiaoan closed her teary eyes. In Luo clan's residence, the ever-quiet Luo Yuncheng spoke up. Zhuo Fan, Miss Ninger and you. What's wrong? Zhuo Fan asked, puzzled. Luo Yuncheng looked at him long, then shook her head. Nothing. Zhuo Fan blinked obliviously. Luo clan stayed in a small courtyard in Dragon Cloud City. After coming here, Zhuo Fan called for Lei Yunchen and the 20 profound heaven fakes. With Steward Zhu as our bulwark, we will always achieve absolute victory. Lei Yunchen cupped his hands and laughed. Zhuo Fan merely barked at the fakers. Elder Lei, cane these things 100 times each personally. Lei Yunchen was startled. Why is Steward Zhu angry? Did he lose? No way. Whenever Zhuo Fan entered the fray, he only came out winning. Not to mention this was an easy matter. The 20 fakers were stumped as well. What did we do? They've been well behaved as of late. We never showed off either. Zhuo Fan snorted. You think I forgot about you since I didn't pay you any attention last couple of days. Luo clan was attacked yesterday, and even our allies and outsiders came out with heavy wounds trying to protect our masters. While you just picked a corner to let this play out, you think you'll get out of this so easily. But they were 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. We have no hope of defeating them, would have only died for nothing, one of the 20 said with fear. Squinting, Zhuo Fan's flick sent him flying as he roared. You call that a reason? When you were Imperial guards, did you run away as well? You are now the Luo clan's guards, and the least you could do is be our shields. We are never to die before all of you. Didn't Elder Lei and Captain Peng act just the same? You don't have the Luo clan's well-being as your priority and must be punished. Lei Yunchen nodded after a pause. He was right, and these guys had to be put in their place. Elder Lei, what are you standing around for? Do it, Zhuo Fan barked. The 20 fakers jolted in fear. Lei Yunchen was about to execute the order when he froze. Wait, 100 canes per faker. Won't my old body give out after 2,000 hits? Steward Zhuo, are you punishing them or taking it out on me? But then again, only he was the best person suited for the job, since if anyone else did it, it wouldn't count as punishment. But 2,000 canes. Lei Yunchen looked at Luo Yuncheng bitter. Yuncheng, what happened today? Why is Steward Zhu so irritated? Luo Yuncheng shook her head. Never mind, Uncle Lei. Just give them 20 canes each, but a bit harder. They all eased a breath in relief. The fakers rejoiced, as did Lei Yunchen. They were blessed to have this young miss above Demon Archon Zhuo. 2,000 canes turning into 400 was far more manageable. Back in his room, Zhuo Fan sat down and emptied the teacup at the side in one gulp inside. He was finally calm. Luo Yuncheng and Captain Peng entered, to which Zhuo Fan said, How is Elder Li and the others? They should be close. For Dragon Cloud City to keep the peace, no house was allowed to bring in Radiant Stage experts. So Zhuo Fan guessed Li Jingshan's group had to be waiting on the outskirts of town. Captain Peng shook his head. Young Miss Lei and Elder Yan hadn't come since you had plans for them. Correct. I indeed told them to move around this time. And the others? Zhuo Fan nodded. Captain Peng muttered, the others didn't as well. Why? Zhuo Fan finally had the time to mind Luo clan's situation and was stunned by what he heard. It was my idea, Luo Yuncheng said. Dragon Cloud City doesn't allow Radiant Stage experts in, and you said not to expose our cards too soon. So fool, Zhuo Fan snapped, enraged again. The 7 houses didn't bring Radiant Stage experts because of their power while you have none. If you and Yunhai die here, the Luo clan is finished. What would be the point of all my plans and my efforts to help the clan? To throw it all away in the end? Luo Yuncheng bit her lip and tears threatened to fall down her cheeks. But instead of succumbing to them, she snapped back. Yes, I am not so astute and failed to see the big picture. And you, after being gone for 5 years, you instantly scream at anyone you find an eyesore. It'd have been better if you hadn't bothered coming. Luo Yuncheng slammed the door as she left. Captain Peng was awkward. Steward Zhu, please don't take it to heart, she didn't mean it. She missed you day and night. Fine, I know. This isn't the first time she has acted like this anyway. Zhuo Fan sighed and squinted. Old Peng, send a messaging jade slip for Elder Li to provide us support. I have a feeling we will have a falling out with Regent Estate. Captain Peng nodded. Zhuo Fan was soon left alone with his thoughts. He closed his eyes as he considered. He knew something was off about him today. Irritated by everything and lashing out at anyone, he was this close to trading blows too. This couldn't go on. If anger got the best of him, he would force his way forward, which was not a good thing. He had to control himself at all costs, or there was a high chance he would do something he would regret. But why was he so ticked off all of a sudden? Taking a deep breath and closing his eyes, he calmed down and started cultivating. Suddenly, a shout echoed and Zhuo Fan clutched his right eye as he fell to the ground soaked. The golden ring in his eye flashed on and off as a faint second golden ring appeared. Am I about to achieve Divine Eye of the Void's second stage? Zhuo Fan was excited. Rustle with a few flicks of his arms, Zhuo Fan set up a defensive array and sat cross-legged, calmed his mind and readied himself to advance. He felt his right eye burning red-hot as the golden ring flashed. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and focused his entire soul power on his right eye. The Divine Eye of the Void had an intrinsic connection with one's soul. Each advancement would tax one's soul greatly. 3 days passed within a blink in this manner, with Zhuo Fan focused on his task and no one disturbing him either. However, the morning of the 4th day, Zhuo Fan opened his eyes with a sigh. It still failed. Is it because my soul is weak or because of my restless state of mind? Squinting, Zhuo Fan began regretting. It was such a rare chance to get stronger and he had thoroughly wasted it. Recalling his impatience 4 days ago, Zhuo Fan shook his head. Why couldn't I be calm? I need to temper my heart and remove all distractions. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The next time he opened them, they were crystal clear with no ripples across them. Zhuo Fan stood up, undid the array, and walked out. He was met with Luo Yuncheng and company. One look was enough to tell him something was up. What's wrong? Zhuo Fan eyed them. Luo Yuncheng muttered, Pavilion Lord Long has sent word that they want to discuss the final battle among the 7 houses with you. But you were cultivating these past days and… All right, I got it. Zhuo Fan interrupted her and walked away without even looking at them, like a lone wolf. Luo Yuncheng looked at his back for a long while and then said, Captain Peng, did you also notice that he has changed? Captain Peng swallowed. Steward Zhu didn't change. He has only returned to how he was 8 years ago. He looks the same as back then in Misty Forest. Luo Yuncheng watched the prideful figure with an aching heart. Is he, leaving again, a demonic cultivator only ever cared about themselves? With Zhuo Fan having met so many people over the years, each encounter had a faint influence, each tainting his heart and ultimately rattling his usually peaceful state of mind. He was of the belief that this was the sole reason for his failure to advance Divine Eye of the Void to the second stage. After careful consideration, he had cast out every influence, along with the ever-growing emotions. The strong had no need for dead weights. Surveying the white clouds floating about the blue sky, Zhuo Fan's eyes were crystal clear, so much so that they looked dead, so much better. Sighing, Zhuo Fan walked with purpose to a courtyard 10 times larger than the Luo clans. This place had high-ranking people watching the gate. Brother, the killing with intent you used has opened my eyes, Long Ju laughed. Zhuo Fan nodded unaffected. Long time no see, Brother Ju. Long Ju paused for a second. Why is Brother so cold today? Darling, you were so cool. Zio Dandan skipped over at some point with a rosy face. Peony Overseer held her face and sighed. Zhuo Fan glanced at her and said, Last, do that again and I'll make sure it will be your last. Reeling, Zio Dandan watched him like he was some stranger. She had gotten used to Zhuo Fan talking like that, but this time she could see the bloodthirst glinting in his eyes. She was certain that if she opened her mouth at this instant, Zhuo Fan would rip it off. Peony Overseer saw her disciple being picked on and glared. But before she could spring in defense, Zhuo Fan's cold, emotionless eyes snapped at her, and you deal with your disciple before she meets with misfortune. When that time comes, you'll only have yourself to blame for not educating her properly. Zhuo Fan then walked inside without sparing the women a look. Zhuo Fan had long lost his joking mood and was ready to follow up on his threats. What's wrong with this kid? He's like another person. While those familiar with Zhuo Fan were stifled, the rest were even more afraid of earning his ire. Zhuo Fan was surrounded by a constant air of savagery as if he was standing above all. No one dared to stand closer than 3 meters around this mighty lord. His faraway look and his power let them know that the best he ever felt was when he was alone. This Zhuo Fan left them all cold and shaken inside. Rumble. Zhuo Fan walked in through the heavy door where the 3 clans sat around a round table. They all smiled at his coming, Chu Qingcheng especially. He nodded and smiled in reply, but ignored Chu Qingcheng as he took a chair. Steward Zhu, the qualification round has concluded. Because of your involvement, a large number of clans were eliminated. This makes the final battle planned a month later be moved 2 days from now, Long Yifi explained. Zhuo Fan nodded, so the reason you wanted to see me is, seeing how the Luo clan has never participated in the final battle of the 7 houses before, there are some things you have yet to learn. Long Yifi smiled. Actually, the final battle is held in a different area each time and rules change accordingly. What remains the same is how cruel and brutal it is. So it isn't held in Dragon Cloud City. Hasn't it been a tradition for esoteric debate to be held here for the past 1,000 years? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Long Yifi shook his head. This is the imperial family's scheme. Only by constantly changing the environment could they see the true power of the 7 houses. And with how powerful the disciples from the 7 houses are, so too will the terrain become of a much greater difficulty. This time it is expected to be the worst so far. Zhuo Fan squinted, still out of the loop. Grandmother giggled. Steward Zhu needn't be baffled. The Dragon Cloud City has a large 8th grade teleportation array to send us anywhere within the Tianyu Empire. And that is where the final battle will be held. This is also to prevent anyone from setting an ambush. Zhuo Fan nodded. Imperial family thought of everything, but using such a large teleportation array only for esoteric debate is such a waste. Zhuo Fan shook his head in the end. If the imperial family wanted to waste their coffers, how was that his problem? He was better off focusing on the final battle. That was the whole reason why they were gathered here. Zai Xiaofeng smiled. Steward Zhu, your skills have opened our eyes, but we still wish to ask, how confident are you in facing Huanpu Qingshan? Squinting, Zhuo Fan snickered. None whatsoever. But you can rest easy knowing that I can hold him down. With how one of the other 3 is a cripple, can you handle the remaining 2? With Steward Zhu holding off that monster, the other 2.5 men will be easily taken care of. The 7 houses ranking will be an upheaval. Zai Xiaofeng anticipated with joy. The others laughed with him. They discussed further details, then adjourned. Zhuo Fan walked to the door when a graceful figure blocked his view. Zhuo Fan eyed Chu Qingcheng. You need something? Zhuo Fan said flatly. Chu Qingcheng watched the impassive Zhuo Fan in anger. Zhuo Fan, I want an answer. Did you have no reason to stay in Drifting Flower City longer? None. Zhuo Fan was resolute. I told you I only did it out of self-interest. Since I had achieved my goal and got what I came for, I had no reason to stay. Chu Qingcheng gnashed her teeth and clenched her fists. What about the days spent in that shack? You call playing house being real? Mocking, Zhuo Fan sneered. Without sacrificing a few days of my youth, you would have never given up Bodhi Jade Sap so willingly. Pa. Chu Qingcheng slapped him before he could finish. Grinning, Zhuo Fan giggled despite her raging eyes. Silly girl, you're so easily duped that I worry how Drifting Flowers edifices will survive after grandmother's gone. Why not give it to me? Bastard, you are dead inside. Chu Qingcheng glared, her fingers dug into her palm, drawing blood, trailing her flawless skin. Smirking, Zhuo Fan no longer looked at her as he left, but his mockery stung nonetheless. Ha ha ha, I am and always will be a demonic cultivator. Even if that time made me feel anything, so what? You think you can hook me in? PFF. With heart-wrenching pain, Chu Qingcheng watched him leave with a face filled with tears. Zhuo Fan paused but never turned around. His face forever cold as he walked away alone. Peony Overseer and the rest rushed over, seeing Chu Qingcheng's state and starting cursing Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan hardly cared about the pesky coin, leaving with a cold smile on his face. He had just left the courtyard and soon noticed some blood seeping from his mouth. He wiped it off unfeeling and mechanically. To become a demonic emperor, he had to be cold-blooded and to never allow a trace of emotion to get a hold of him ever again. Dragon Cloud City's westernmost side had a towering mountain going by the name of Transfer Peak. Right on top of this huge hunk of rock laid a grand 8th grade teleportation array. Some said that even before Tianyu Empire came to be, the the Yuan imperial family used this precise array to send its troops to every corner of the empire. But as the chaos made way to peace, it didn't see much use, serving now just as a means to blow off the 7 houses' ever-accumulating rancor through the esoteric debate. At this particular moment, hundreds of clans were gathering on it en masse. They all looked at the array with nervousness, excitement, and awe. Anyone would be excited when it came to joining the final battle, knowing their rise was just around the corner, as was their destruction. And they were nervous as well at having qualified for this final battle. Besides the first-rate clans still holding their ranks, the third- and second-rate clans went through a shuffling. Few were those that rose to become first-rate with new and incredible power. The final battle, however, wasn't as cushy as the qualification round. Not that the entry fights were ever easy to begin with, but when taking the final battle into account, its cruelty was way worse than the qualification battles. Thus, it was easy to imagine how nervous these clans were feeling. That went farther for a particular underdog, the Luo clan of Wingay City. With Soaring Demonic Dragon Zhuo Fan on par with 6 dragons and 1 phoenix as vanguard, was there anyone capable of pushing them back? What was on the clan's minds, however, was whose vassal were they, for whose sake were they fighting for? The worry hit many hard. Look, the Luo clan. A shout snapped hundreds of heads in Luo Yuncheng's direction as she led the Luo clan alongside Zhuo Fan. Finally healed, Luo Yunhai could now show his heroic aura and thirst for battle. A youth still, yet the 5th tiger of Tianyu would never just be another face in the crowd. Their proceedings instilled a certain heavy air around the onlookers. The Luo clan was a veritable wolf strutting through a sheep herd. It was so bad that the people made a 10-meter wide space for them. Everyone feared getting close to the savage beast, and yet there were always exceptions. Big brother Zhuo, you're all here, Zhu Ningxiang skipped over hyped and waving. The Zhu and Dong clans behind her earned not few raised eyebrows. What was their connection for these 2 clans to get so close with this wolf? But the appearance of Sword Marquis Abode's second young master, Zai Tianyang, making his way there as well, cleared all doubts. So their allies, there was no shortage of rumors flying about the Luo clan, especially about its supporters. It so happened that Sword Marquis Abode was among these rumors, and today only validated it. This only worked to make the people even more envious of this upstart clan. So this is why the Luo clan jumped from 3rd to 1st rate and had a free path to the final battle. They have a house behind them. What kind of sheer dumb and rotten luck had they stumbled upon to have a house treat them so? Thinking of how mountains of wealth were literally flung at this 3rd-rate clan to reach such a position. If it were us in their stead, we'd have reached the moon by now. People always looked at the surface of things, unaware that the Luo clan of today wasn't because of the support of some houses. And it was what they were today that had caught the 7 houses' attention. It was painfully obvious to see who here was a dog or a man. Zhu Ningxiang gasped as she reached them with a sweet and innocent smile. Zhuo Fan's mouth quirked and he ruffled her hair. What are you doing here? Haven't you always hated watching people die? Luo Yuncheng retorted as she watched him longingly. It was her first time in days that she caught Zhuo Fan show a carefree smile, but why wasn't it directed at her? Luo Yuncheng sighed, feeling the ache deep within. It's fine, big brother Zhuo. Zhu clan is joining as well and I'll be going too. Zhu Ningxiang giggled, brandishing her cute little fists to show her battle spirit. Zhuo Fan shouted anxiously, you can't, Ninger. This is a vicious battle, not a game. A girl like you has no place on the battlefield. I don't care, because I know big brother Zhuo will be there to save me whenever I'm in danger. Zhu Ningxiang blinked her bright eyes, watching Zhuo Fan eagerly. She then looked at the thunder ring. Whenever I'm in peril, the thunder ring will flicker and you'll appear. Isn't that right? Zhuo Fan squinted, then nodded in defeat. Fine, I'll look after you. You don't have to worry about that. You have Huangpu Kingshan to deal with. Ninger will be in my care. Zai Tianyang stormed next to Zhu Ningxiang and held her shoulder, making a claim on her. Zhu Dingshan only now arrived and smiled awkwardly. I can't stop her. This girl is too stubborn, but don't worry, she will be in her brother's and young master Zai's care, so she won't be in any trouble. On cue, Zhu Lin and Zhu Gang cupped their hands. Startled, Zhuo Fan gave them a once-over and nodded, despite the sense of loss taking hold on his heart. He felt that he and Ninger were only growing apart. With mountains rising between them, they could never return to the blissful times they shared in Albeast Mountain Range. This is for the best. He wanted to numb his heart, and severing those memories of their past encounters was for the best. With a deep breath, Zhuo Fan regained inner peace like a stone-cold killer. He said to Zai Tianyang, take good care of her and make sure nothing happens. It goes without saying. Zai Tianyang nodded. Zhuo Fan, I'm coming as well, Luo Yuncheng spoke up. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Why, didn't I say I and Yunhai and 10 guards are enough? Why do you want to come all of a sudden? How? No reason. You'll protect me, so it'll be fine. Luo Yuncheng batted her eyes. Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan said, no, too dangerous. Are you worried about me? That's not it. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose. I'll be in danger if I have to constantly look after you. The others chuckled. Luo Yuncheng glared as she kicked his shin. You make me a dead weight while you said you protect Ninger? What am I then? Zhuo Fan let her vent on his leg, stiffened for a second as his face went cold. Luo Yuncheng kicked him once, but the second kick didn't come, for her heart grew forlorn the more she looked at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan had closed off his heart under lock and key. He was like a prideful hero, wishing to bear everything alone. The 7 houses are here, the shout got everyone's attention. With Regent Estate in the lead, the 7 houses strutted forth. Chu King Cheng was there as well. She glanced at Zhuo Fan only to see his face ever cold and impassive, which made her clench her fists. Grandmother was right. He is dead inside, not worth any woman's attention. Scoffing, she ignored him and walked behind grandmother with a frosty gaze. Marshal Dugu has arrived. Dugu Jianshan brought 10,000 soldiers to surround this area. He did it as a safety measure to instill order. But the thick scent of blood and steel shuddered the nerves of every disciple here, they who had only known life in the clan. Laughing, Dugu Jianshan stopped before Zhuo Fan and patted his shoulder. Ha ha ha, kid. I was ready to come out and save you that day, but you have radiant stage abilities already. You hid them so well that you even had me worried. Marshall was there as well. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Dugu Jianshan nodded with a smile. How could I not? Just the day before Huangpu Kingshan showed off his intent. I had to watch over you. Who knew? Who friggin' knew? You're both made of the same cloth, monsters, the lot of you. I was worried for nothing, ha ha ha. Laughing on, Dugu Jianshan turned to Luo Yunhai and gave him some warnings before leaving. The 4 tigers of Tianyu offered their encouragement as they left as well. Reaching the forefront, Dugu Jianshan surveyed the crowd of clans. Please step before the array. The esoteric debate's final battle will begin shortly. Starting with Regent Estate, the 7 houses took the first line in order of the previous esoteric debate's ranking. Next were the clans, never even entertaining the thought of cutting ahead. The clans either stood behind their master or the house they wished to become a vassal of. Obviously, Regent Estate had the numerical advantage. But typical of Regent Estate, that didn't mean these clans were going to be accepted. While other clans with modicum of strength settled for standing behind other houses they wished to follow. Dong clan went behind Drifting Flowers edifices, and Zhu clan behind Sword Marquis' abode. Zhuo Fan glanced at Luo Yunhai and nodded. Luo Yunhai strutted under the shocked gaze of the people right abreast the 7 houses, next to Drifting Flowers edifices. The rest of the clan's members puffed up their chests right behind him. The shock was understandable. The crowd now realized that the Luo clan was no one's dog but stood on their own. But this was a direct challenge to the 7 houses' authority. Would they be able to handle it? The 7 houses turned their heads, but the calm look on their faces said it all. They were expecting this. That only fueled the crowd's uproar. The 7 houses are accepting the Luo clan's rise, but how could they allow anyone to stand at their level? The Luo clan did have Soaring Demonic Dragon Zhuo Fan, that insane monster, but the rest of the clan was a whole another matter entirely. Huangpu Tianyuan snickered at the narrow-minded clans around him. Were they so blind to see it coming ever since Zhuo Fan started having a field day with the 7 houses' elders? So even though Luo clan was overstepping its bounds, per usual, none of the houses found it worthy of a reaction. Oh, your ambition for power and status sure is commendable. Ha ha ha, in the end you still abided by his wishes and showed up. An aged voice echoed. The crowd turned around in shock. They found 3 old men coming over. The leader being the head of 4 pillars, Prime Minister Zhu Chengfeng, flanked by his yin-yang elders. Even from afar, the people could sense the hidden and thick power they exuded, enough to crush this entire area. Why is this geezer here? Dugu Jianshan held his beard with a stern face. Huangpu Tianyuan's side was put off by the presence of Tianyu's number 1 mind. This old bean had extended Yu Wanshan and company a hand in wrestling out of the emperor's grip one time, but it was a known fact that no one could truly unravel the real reason behind his kindness. His mind was unreadable. Yesterday's friend could very well turn into today's enemy, but the worst was the constant anxiety one was in not knowing when that would happen. Leng Wucheng eyed the hunched figure, then shook his head and sighed. Not even he could read the old man. Hailed as unwanted contriver, with everyone an open book before his scrutiny, he had no confidence when it came to reading Zhu Chengfeng. Zhu Chengfeng sported a vague smile as he walked next to Zhuo Fan. Have you thought it through, or are you going to be swept away by the storm? Gasps of shock resounded everywhere. What is the Luo clan and Zhu Chengfeng's connection? They now understood why Luo clan had risen to challenge the 7 houses. Blast it with 2 pillars behind you, the young master under a marshal and the prime minister cheering you on. Not even the 7 houses would dare slight such a clan. So this is Luo clan's true backing. People's faces twitched and their hearts sank. Why does this never happen to me? Just what tricks did this Luo clan pull to grab hold of 2 pillars? Huangpu Tianyuan's side was also stunned. They never saw it coming. Zhuo Changfeng came for Zhuo Fan. With even Zhuo Changfeng helping them, they had no chance to finish off the Luo clan. Ever, Huangpu Tianyuan's face sank as his knuckles went white. Leng Wucheng dismissed his worries. A state lord, Zhuo Changfeng is different from Dugu Zhanshan, a pragmatic. Even if he intended to get close to Luo clan, it will only be because of Zhuo Fan's skills. Once Zhuo Fan is out of the picture, they will fall like a ton of bricks. It only makes this time's esoteric debate of paramount importance to stomp that punk dead. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. Leng Wucheng nodded, turning to the only one who could achieve this feat, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord Huangpu Qingshan. Yet the man in question was oblivious to their conversation. His eyes showed he was raring to go turn the entire battlefield upside down. Perfect. Leng Wucheng chuckled, finding everyone dancing his tune. Going back to Zhuo Fan, the man smiled. Prime Minister, how do you know if the Luo clan isn't in the eye of the storm already? Zhuo Changfeng raised an eyebrow. I trust your judgment. It's fine as long as you aren't forced into it. I am eager to see the day Steward Zhu achieves his ambitions. Zhuo Fan nodded and Zhuo Changfeng laughed. He took his yin-yang elders to Dugu Zhanshan. Old Marshal, please don't take it hard on me for dropping unannounced. I would never. You are the honorable Prime Minister of our empire. It is only natural to come see the grand esoteric debate. Dugu Zhanshan's beard trembled, his tone cold. Zhuo Changfeng laughed. Old Marshal, don't be so stiff. I'm here by myself out of boredom. Don't think too much of it. Humph, as if, the crowd cursed inside as well. Since when was Zhuo Changfeng that bored to come here without rhyme or reason? The game was most definitely afoot. The old fox's schemes aside, Dugu Zhanshan had no time to mind him. His orders were to make sure esoteric debate ran smoothly. Recalling the emperor's explicit and repeated warnings, a caution the emperor never showed before, led this old general to believe the esoteric debate of today had national ramifications. Dugu Zhanshan barked, by His Majesty's grace, the esoteric debate will allow clansmen below the age of 30 to participate. No one older is allowed entry, or I will personally cut them down. The rules will be explained to you shortly by one of Divine Dragons, Jade Flute Divine Sword Feng Qiubai. Whoosh. A whistle of white clothes signified the entrance of an old man holding a jade flute and exuding a dominating air, Feng Qiubai. Rustle, a flick of his hand sent 5 jades taller than 2 people around the teleportation array. Looking at it, the people saw the stone form 5 huge gates. 8th grade army transfer, national elemental stones. Looking at the red, yellow, green, blue, and brown stones, Zhuo Changfeng and the 7 houses took a step back in shock. Feng Qiubai nodded. Correct, this is indeed the array passed down by imperial ancestors. Feng Qiubai then made a sign and the stones shone, each reflecting a beautiful scenery of beasts and birds. A 3rd-level spiritual beast soon passed by and watched the crowd curiously. Then came a 4th-level spiritual beast and howled, but was left to claw away at an invisible barrier, unable to reach them. Feng Qiubai's voice roused them from the shock. I will now present you all with the rules for this esoteric debate. As you have seen for yourselves, the center and the stone arrays are both unidirectional. You will shortly stand in the center array, and I will then send you to the location of the final battle. But to return, the only way is through the national elemental stones. The crowd looked puzzled. Feng Qiubai continued. The 5 national elemental stones are a one-way door, but from the final battle location to here. To activate it, you will need to find not only these stones, but also their key. However, each array has a yin and yang key that must be joined to return, and the order of your arrival will mark your ranking. Simple enough. Huangpu Qingshan smiled. The others nodded, finding it pretty straightforward. It all came down to finding some keys and the way back. The greatest danger was merely deadly battles between clans, nothing of importance. Feng Qiubai raised an eyebrow and snickered. Simple as it. You won't be saying that after you find out the location. The clans stared at him distraught. Beast King Mountain, Feng Qiubai mocked. SSS gasps echoed around and some even felt their knees shaking. Beast King Mountain wasn't as deadly as all Beast Mountain range, but high-level spiritual beasts were nevertheless present. There were many 5th and 6th level spiritual beast kings roaming, hence the name Beast King Mountain. Even profound heaven and radiant stage experts would have a hard time scouring that place for anything, not to mention the plenty of bone-tempering cultivators among the clans. There was no need to even fight when the spiritual beasts would kill them off before they could even meet. The hearts of everyone sank in despair. Why was this time's battle so cruel and deadly? Only 6 dragons, 1 phoenix and Zhuo Fan were the picture of calmness. Glancing at these monsters left them stomping in indignation. Was this place chosen with these freaks in mind? If you take away the 8 monsters, you'd only have average people. This is ridiculous. Fang Qiubai grinned at their silent protest, but of course, no danger comes unwarranted. It is slightly dangerous this time around, but the reward is up to the risk. These are 5 8th grade pills, brimming sacred pill. It will be up to each one of you to earn it. Say what? Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingshan were both affected. The brimming sacred pill was of most value to a radiant stage expert or those on the brink. Across the whole of Tianyu, this pill was the rarest of all. Not even the 7 houses had one. Huangpu Qingshan, Huangpu Tianyuan, and other peak profound heaven experts needed just one little pill, and they would jump right into being a radiant stage expert with no strings attached. While to a radiant stage expert, it would boost their soul many times over. Worth it, Huangpu Tianyuan was moved as he looked at his son. He had been stuck at peak profound heaven stage for decades. This chance was godsent. And yet Huangpu Qingshan's face left him cold. God damn it, if this brat gets it, he'll eat it on the spot. Zhu Chengfeng frowned as he twirled his mustache. The old man has come out swinging. He is eager to begin his plan, while the 2nd and 3rd-rate clans looked on in forlorn depression. This is clearly meant for those monsters. Where among us do you see a radiant stage or peak profound heaven expert? Taking it will only make us pop like fireworks. It came with great fear and trepidation as to how cruel this event would be for them. This stage was practically designed to be the death of them. They were nothing more than cannon fodder. But to climb aboard a house, a timely help would get the attention they desperately yearned. Even if they were cannon fodder, they'd still risk it. All right, youngsters, time to go. Fang Qiubai made a hand sign and pointed at the dark mass in the center of the array. In a dazzling fashion, a pillar of light sprung up straight to the sky and forced people to squint. Every clan's younger generation rubbed their eyes and their mouths twitched, but no matter how unwilling, they all walked on. Go, go, just go and die, they all cursed. No matter how they thought about it, Fang Qiubai's cheering felt more like a blatant wish for an untimely death. Not like they had a choice in the matter. So on they went, for their clan's honor and for their future. Whoosh, people sank into the pillar of light one after another, gone for good. Zhuo Fan glanced at the array and said to Luo Yunhai's group, "The teleportation array is random and will split us up. No matter what happens, you are to search for each other first and foremost." "Yes, Steward Zhu." The 10 young guards nodded and Luo Yunhai spoke gravely. "Don't worry, Brother Zhu. My godfather put me through some scouting lessons and I'll quickly find you." Grinning, Zhu Fan said, "It was a good thing after all, leaving you in Marshall's care all those years. I can rest easy now." Luo Yunhai's eyes shined with resolve. "Let's go." Zhu Fan took his group through the light pillar. Luo Yuncheng's side looked from afar and prayed for their safety. "Zhu Fan, I will make you pay for killing my master." A sudden roar caught Zhu Fan's attention. Yan Fu watched him filled with revenge and hatred, more obvious now that the white light separated them. Zhu Fan was stunned. "Damn, forgot about that twerp. This guy is a coward anyway. He only waited for me to get in the array before barking. Ah, what a chicken." Zhu Fan shook his head and sighed. He was gone. Yan Fu, however, was over the moon. He actually managed to provoke the monster. Yan Bangi walked over and mocked. "Spineless brat, try to refrain from being so despicable next time." The other houses also snickered. Waiting for your enemy to be unable to do anything to you, if that isn't cowardice, what is? You've gone long on the path of a gutless rat. As they looked at him in ridicule, the rest of the 7 houses entered the pillar of light as well. Yan Fu gnashed his teeth, his face flushed as he followed them. The bustling place from moments ago soon turned quiet. Fang Qiubai found all participants gone and closed the array with another hand sign. Yet beyond his perception, 2 shadowy figures slipped past just as he finished. Whoosh, the towering light pillar died and Zhu Fan found himself in the heart of a forest. He didn't even get to make sense of his surroundings as a roar grated his ears. With a rancid smell and whistling wind signaling its arrival, a dozens of meter tall bear rose behind him. With his rock-splitting paw, it smashed right for him. Even a 9th layer of bone-tempering cultivator would be hard-pressed to face such power. Snapping his head back, Zhu Fan frowned. 4th-level spiritual beast, mountain-crushing bear. The giant paw was right in his face, yet all Zhu Fan did was have his eye flash azure. The fierce bear paw came to a grinding halt, and the giant bear was scared out of his mind as he ran with all his power. Zhu Fan watched the disappearing humongous bear with a snicker. The azure flame's use isn't limited to all beast mountain range. All spiritual beasts are under its influence. This would make the trip to Beast King Mountain a breeze. While others had to painstakingly pay attention to any high-level spiritual beasts on the prowl, he was out on an evening stroll. The Beast King Mountain was his home turf. On the other hand, it was a nightmare for the rest of those poor suckers, particularly those that had yet to enter the profound heaven stage. Since he was welcomed by a fourth-level spiritual beast, the others ought to be receiving more or less the same honor. No. I have to find Yunhai fast. Frowning, Zhuo Fan's wings unfolded and he took to the skies. Some flying spiritual beasts shot straight for him, but a flash of azure flame from Zhuo Fan's eyes cut their intent clean off. Whoosh flashes of white dazzled the sky for the better part of the next hour, yet Zhuo Fan never met another person. He sighed at how ridiculously vast the Beast King Mountain was. If he didn't find the others fast, who knew what might happen? Save me, a charming voice entered his ears. Zhuo Fan paused. With how vicious the Beast King Mountain is, no normal person would be stupid enough to come here. This person has to be a contender. Among the many clans that joined, Drifting Flowers edifices had the most girls. Should I or should I not? Zhuo Fan mulled it over for a second before flying down. I guess it won't be nice to watch your own ally bite the dust without helping. Since I won't find Yunhai anytime soon, I better lend a helping hand. Zhuo Fan sent out a soul ripple and locked onto the source of the sound in an instant. He saw a huge lake in the distance, wide enough that it was impossible to see the other shore. The place was verdant and lush, framed perfectly by the sun's rays, but the water of the lake started to roil and billow as huge waves rose all over the place. A charming girl slammed into the water in great distress. Across from her was a quarter-mile-long scarlet venomous serpent. Its eerie pair of sharp eyes looked at the panicking girl with hunger. Sixth-level spiritual beast, overpowering flood dragon? Zhuo Fan squinted in shock. That was no ordinary snake, but a water serpent descended from the mighty flood dragon. Such a spiritual beast was a natural king. It was a peak existence even among sixth-level spiritual beasts. Not even a common seventh-level spiritual beast could contend with it. Zhuo Fan gasped in awe at the Beast King Mountain hiding such a monster. Even more so to the bad luck this missy had in landing not just in its turf, but its home waters. In fact, she popped right in its goddamned open maw. It couldn't get any worse than that. SSS flicking its red tongue, the serpent opened its maw ready to swallow the girl whole. The girl shuddered and curled up, giving up on herself. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with a golden ring and he appeared next to her. With another flash, they were gone. The savage serpent bit down but got nothing but fresh water. It looked around agape. Where'd she go? The more it looked around, the more shocked it became. Not for a second did the serpent believe that she was fast enough to escape its range. The only plausible answer was an illusion. It lifted its huge tail, creating a 50-meter wide splash. It rubbed its head with the tip in bewilderment. How come? Am I growing senile and have started seeing things? In another area, the girl closed her eyes and shivered in Zhuo Fan's embrace, waiting for the jaws of death to rob her life. She waited, yet nothing came, not even pain. She only felt a bit chilly as the breeze traced her curves. The girl cracked her eyes open to see a broad chest and the blue sky. Zhuo Fan was paying attention to where he flew with a cold stare, but when he felt her squirming, he said, "You're all right." Ah, Zhuo Fan's voice was stuck in his throat and his scalp went numb watching the nubile figure. The girl's naked. The girl looked at him and then at her silky smooth and uncovered skin before blushing and wailing. "Ah, you rogue, don't look, close your eyes. You're the damn rogue. What are you doing coming here without clothes? Since when is Drifting Flowers edifices so deviant?" "What Drifting Flowers edifices? I know no Drifting Flowers edifices. I thought I told you to shut your eyes. Don't you dare look. Zip it. It's perfectly normal for a man to look, especially now. Go and wear something if you don't like it." "You," she glared at him and huffed. Her eyes sparkled, on the verge of tears, and her face was growing flushed by the second. Ding in the thick forest, Zhuo Fan was facing away from the bush behind him in silence and focus. He could even hear some clear ringing coming from that bush. Zhuo Fan sighed. No good deed goes unpunished. He went and saved the damsel, only to find her naked, so they made a pit stop at a bush to dress up, but this chick was taking her sweet time doing it. "Can't you just put on a coat or a robe and be done with it? Look at me." Rustle the grass crunched behind him and Zhuo Fan turned. He was in for the shock of his life. He hadn't gotten a good look at this damsel, with the rescuing and all, but now that he had, she was quite the looker. She had a cute button nose, more than generous curves, and big eyes to reflect complex emotions. Considering her clothes, it was a striking difference from the refined and graceful silken robes. They were made with ease of movements in mind. The constant ringing finally drew his attention to her bracelet having a bell attached, completing her wild look. "She's a foreigner," Zhuo Fan watched on speechless. Never had it crossed his mind that in a place filled with his clan's disciples, he would find a girl not native of Tianyu. Noticing the obvious look she was getting, the girl blushed. She was squirming with shyness, but still had the guts to give him a sharp glare. What are you looking at? See how I'll poke your eyes out. Not that there's anything to see. Why are you so feisty? Zhuo Fan jabbed. The girl blushed harder and felt disgruntled. She was a pure and single girl, and then she stumbled upon this stranger who had got more than an eyeful. How could she face the world now? She was mortified, wishing to bury her head in her chest. Go die. All this while Zhuo Fan was walking away cursing. God friggin' damn it. I saved the wrong damsel and wasted all this time too. Glaring, the girl spat. What's the meaning of this? You regret saving me? She skipped in front of him and fixed her piercing eyes on him. Zhuo Fan's words struck a nerve, and she got over her shyness in a jiffy. I'm an exotic beauty, a man's dream. It was your greatest fortune getting to save me and even getting an eyeful. What's with that tone, as if you were the one found naked? I am the one hurting here. You ruined me, humph greedy pig. The girl's eyes were staring a hole into Zhuo Fan, wishing to tear him a new one. In Zhuo Fan's response, pushing her aside in mid-stride move, I've wasted enough pointless time on you as it is. The girl eyed the proud Zhuo Fan walking away and blinked. And you call yourself a man? This was a first. All the men she had met so far were quite taken with her, not cold as ice like this one. Then she recalled the desire in his eyes when he got an eyeful in the sky, and it was clear that this guy was a man from head to toe. So why? Then it hit her. What was she doing looking hopeful instead of getting her due for staining a girl's reputation? Ah, how mortifying. She cupped her blushing cheeks, her mind drawing all kinds of untoward conclusions. Not that Zhuo Fan had a mind to care. He ignored this fated encounter and was this close to forgetting her as well. What was the point in remembering every bystander? Roar. A sudden gust signaled the appearance of a golden panther as it jumped down from a tree up above. It stared savagely at Zhuo Fan, bearing its reeking fangs as well. Fourth level spiritual beast, mountain crossing golden panther, the girl cried in fear. Zhuo Fan only frowned with slight worry. With fourth level spiritual beasts being the order of the day on Beast King Mountain, he was plagued by what might happen to Yunhai. The girl figured Zhuo Fan was rooted to his spot from sheer terror and rushed to his rescue. The spiritual beast started laughing at Zhuo Fan's outlandish reaction. Hee, I scared the kid witless with my entrance. Perfect, it has been days since my last feast. Roar, the kitty pounced, its maw ready to swallow Zhuo Fan whole. Zhuo Fan smiled as his eyes were about to flash the danger away, just as a graceful figure jumped in front and blocked the savage beast. Ding, the girl's bracelet rang melodiously as she faced that savage pair of eyes with her charm. The girl then started moving her waist to the ringing, just like a dance. All the beast could do was gawk in a trance at the dancing girl. Zhuo Fan was stunned. He never knew you could deal with spiritual beasts in such an outlandish way. Through dancing and soul power, one charmed their opponent. Humans were hardly affected, but spiritual beasts with their tiny minds gobbled it up on the spot. As the girl went along her dancing routine, the spiritual beast's head was lolling about and its eyes glazed. Then the girl clapped. The savage beast's head cocked and slumped. The fear and dizziness in its eyes made a stark contrast with the contentment on its face. Left gasping, the girl wiped her brow. Zhuo Fan smiled. Ha ha ha, you're really something. This world sure is wide, and there are many approaches to the same problem. Hey, don't just stand there and comment on my skill from your high horse. Snapping her glare on him, the girl said after a pause, looking at you, you're just a 9th layer bone-tempering cultivator. No wonder this 4th level spiritual beast scared you silly. Right back at you. Who was it, I wonder, that had her bare ass saved from that lake? Zhuo Fan snickered. The girl now had his full attention. Blushing, the girl stuck out her head. How is that the same? That thing in the water was a 6th level spiritual beast. Wait, how are you able to fly as a bone-tempering cultivator? How did you save me? I am in the 2nd layer of the profound heaven stage myself, but not even I could escape that monster. Finally getting her wits about her, she realized the sheer ridiculousness of it all. How was she spared from ending up a 6th level spiritual beast's lunch? Zhuo Fan wasn't about to blurt all his secrets to a total stranger and only showed off his lightning wings with a smile. These things are quite fast enough to outrun a water serpent. The girl blinked for a second and nodded. I see, a 6th grade flying spiritual weapon. The sight of those lightning-streaked wings had the girl musing. Then she said in all seriousness, Oi kid, since you saved me and I saved you, we're even? Zhuo Fan nodded, though technically he could have easily dealt with the kitty. But the girl flushed again for some odd reason and was plagued by indecision. Her voice grew fainter to such a degree, even Zhuo Fan would have had a hard time hearing if not for his cultivation. You still owe me for seeing me naked. Oh, that makes sense. Zhuo Fan nodded and chuckled. I totally understand you. Don't worry, I am not one to leave a debt unsettled. One moment. Zhuo Fan then removed his sash. The girl became bug-eyed and turned away in embarrassment. What are you doing, rogue? You said I took advantage of your plight, so I'm only returning the favor. This should make us even. He, rest easy, lady. I will definitely won't ask anything in return, including integrity. Zhuo Fan snickered, sizing the shivering lady with a curious eye. The girl was fuming now, damn pervert. That's not what I meant. What else is there? You mean you want more? Zhuo Fan grinned. Fine, my magnanimous self will never be so petty as a certain girl. Go ahead, feel me up as much as you want. Ha ha ha, do as you wish with me, I won't complain. Really not one peep. Ah, rotten pervert, I've had it with you. The girl was stomping and pouting. I only want you to help me get some shaping spring. I don't need to see your shaping spring. Zhuo Fan's playful mood was gone, replaced by dead seriousness. This matter is starting to become interesting. Shaping Spring was an underground river flowing for millions of years. Subjected to constant heat from the core, it was formed of Earth's essence and it was priceless. While Ice Heart Moon's soul of Zhu Qingjian was a peak water treasure of yin, the Shaping Spring was a yang water essence. Just like diamond sand, the Shaping Spring was among the best ingredients, if not the best itself. They said diamond sand was the blood of the earth, while Shaping Spring was Earth's blood's blood. Diamond sand was a hard ingredient and Shaping Spring a soft one. Diamond sand made strong spiritual weapons, while Shaping Spring allowed a spiritual weapon to go through endless changes. Water had no form, shape, or size, and with just a drop of Shaping Spring placed in a spiritual weapon, it would turn into a sacred item, free to change its size at will. Big and unstoppable as a hammer of 1,000 pounds, or small and sublime like an invisible needle. There was one more incredible property the Shaping Spring had the others didn't know about. It matched with a body refining array. Zhuo Fan grinned as his mind drifted to the tall pillar in his thunder ring. It not once crossed his mind to take this direction, since he never could. But now he had a chance at getting the Shaping Spring, and with it, he could complete that art written in the 9 Serenities' secret records. He may very well gain the same freakish power Gu Santong exhibited. Zhuo Fan was very excited to try. If he could get his hands on the same power that made Gu Santong invincible in Tianyu, then the father and son pair. But not even his imagination could fully grasp the extent of such power. The danger of achieving such a godly refinement was thousands of times greater than when he refined his body with diamond sand. Hesitation had him for a second, but he shook his head clear. There's no time to delay. That thought comes after I can get it. Then his trademark evil smile graced his face once again. Miss, what would you have me do? The girl eyed him skeptically. Why is this punk so warm all of a sudden? Odd. But taking a look at Zhuo Fan's cultivation in the bone-tempering stage, her worries were put to rest. What could a 9th layer of bone-tempering stage possibly do when he only had a 6th-grade spiritual weapon built for speed? The girl smiled in kind. Come with me, help me get the Shaping Spring and what you did to me. It'll make us square. The girl blushed. Zhuo Fan nodded with the same hypocritical smile as always. He felt like sighing. Oh, so many people judge me by my cultivation, only to be swallowed whole by me. This girlie is no different. He followed close behind her with a cold smile. For some very odd reason, she shivered from a creepy feeling striking her very core, yet her response was to cock her head in bewilderment. Ah, another lady got duped. The dupe soon arrived at the edge of a lake. Zhuo Fan's eyes trembled. Isn't this the same lake I saved her from? The girl smiled. Hey, do you know why I was in danger last time? Do you even need to ask? Bathing in some else's home is the same as taking a leak in it. If I was that water serpent, I'd swallow you in one gulp too, Zhuo Fan said sagely. Blushing, she seethed. What bathing? Who would do that in such a dangerous place? Where do you come up with all these dumb conclusions? What else is there? Weren't you going all natural when I got you out? Zhuo Fan scratched his nose. Yet for some reason, despite his unfazed face, his body was quite honest. 2 trails of blood flowed down his nose. Zhuo Fan was stunned. Why am I bleeding? The girl was flushed and smacked his head in resentfulness. Stop having errant thoughts or I what? Make me bathe naked for you to look, Zhuo Fan snorted. The girl was stomping in anger, red as a tomato. Why was she so unlucky to meet this creep? Then again, only by working together with this creep could she get the Shaping Spring, and she sighed. She reined in her indignation and turned grave. Do you see that cave across the lake? Zhuo Fan followed her fingers to see endless fog surrounding a mountain. There was also a faint image of a man-sized cave entrance at its foot, half of it submerged in water. Zhuo Fan nodded. What of it? That is the Serpent's Cave, the girl said. Zhuo Fan asked how that thing was 500 meters long. The cave is too small for. Zhuo Fan's eyes jumped. The girl giggled and made good use of this rare chance to mock him. You're not as dumb as you look. Yes, that serpent is definitely eating the Shaping Spring. It allows it to change its size and enter that cave. What makes you so sure Shaping Spring is in there? Perhaps the venomous serpent ate it somewhere else, or maybe it's in the middle of eating. Zhuo Fan frowned. Whoosh, with a flash of light, a golden-tailed carp jumped in front of him, splashing his face with icy cold water. PFF. The girl giggled, reveling in his misery, content she finally managed to get some retribution. Zhuo Fan wiped his face, uncaring that she did it on purpose. I see. You have a first-level water-type pet you used to scout the poisonous serpent's cave while it was away. Clever boy. The girl winked and smiled. I've been staking out the strange 6th-level spiritual beast since I found it a month ago. Until 3 days ago, it only kept to the cave. So I used my first-level spiritual beast, golden fin fish, to find that it really contained shaping spring. But that poisonous serpent was truly vicious, coming back just an hour later. So I waited the past 3 days for it to come out. But since it didn't, I had no choice but to go in and confront it. Seeing the girl's charming smile, like she had hit the jackpot, Zhuo Fan jabbed. So you got naked and tried working your wiles on it. Wait, that ain't right, you're different species. Even if you forced yourself on that hunk, it would only see you as lunch. What nonsense are you babbling? Who would ever seduce that beast? Blushing, the girl gnashed her teeth in anger. I only intended to use my beast-controlling art to tame it. There is nothing obscene about it. Beast taming, what does that have to do with you running around in all your glory? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. The girl's glare sharpened a notch. Oi, could you stop with the vulgarities? My clan's beast-controlling art pays special attention to being one with nature. The more in tune one is, the stronger the art. Since I can only tame a 4th-level spiritual beast at most, I had to give my body and soul in joining with nature this time around. But I failed anyway because its soul is stronger than average and almost lost my life at its jaws of death. Zhuo Fan nodded. The venomous serpent was related to the flood dragon. Dragon blood flowed through its veins. How could it be just a mere 6th-level spiritual beast? The girl was in over her head trying to charm the beastie with her skill. Oi, brat, weren't you quick at flying? Draw the venomous serpent out and let me fetch the shaping spring. Do that and I will cross out the crass attitude and disrespect you showed me. The girl showed a bewitching smile and batted her big puppy eyes. That might have worked on your average hormone-riddled male to fire him up in braving any dangers, but Zhuo Fan, however, was a stone-cold killer. My thoughts exactly. Zhuo Fan showed his trademark evil smirk. The girl's eyes shined with glee, but Zhuo Fan could easily see a spark of contempt hidden there. When that said, all men are the same. Humph, ignorant bint, now that I know where shaping spring is, you've outlived your usefulness. Snickering to himself, Zhuo Fan flew to the cave. The girl stared at him all the way with an increasingly wider smile. She could practically hold the shaping spring in her arms, yet something nagged her in the corner of her mind. Isn't this perhaps a little too easy? Is this man that much of a fool, so easily taken in by some eye-batting and exploited to his literal death? Bang! Zhuo Fan pummeled the entrance wall. The gonging sound was eerily similar to someone knocking on a metal door. The girl looked on dazed from a very safe distance. This punk has nerves of steel, I'll give him that. Or is he plain indifferent to the 6th-level spiritual beast just waiting for him inside? Speaking of his insensitivity, was he that easily taken in by my charm? The girl looked at him closer. Something isn't right here. Splash then, the sound of water was heard and a meter-long water serpent swam out of the cave. It shook as its body expanded. It was back to its 500 meters long size in a blink, which created a huge splash as he hissed at the two humans. Hiss, the stench licked his cheek and Zhuo Fan clutched his nose as he sized the snake. This guy ate shaping spring all right. The girl was waving her hand down yonder in panic. Not out of worry for Zhuo Fan, of course, but his death would mean her venture would abruptly end with a big fat zero haul. Why is this brat just standing there? Is he scared shitless? God damn it, why did I fail when I'm so close? The girl gnashed her teeth in annoyance. The venomous serpent thought the same, laughing out loud and looking with contempt. This brat must be so naive to knock at my home. Now that he has basked in my royal glory, he's scared witless. Ha ha ha, it's only natural. Even I am in awe of my glorious self most of the time, ha ha ha. Glancing at the delusional snake and its wagging tail, Zhuo Fan could read him like a book. He grinned as he simply flew inside the cave. Guard this place and don't come in without my say. Zhuo Fan belittled this useless thing and just waltzed in. The venomous serpent was out of it from shock. What did he just say? To watch the door, the serpent was enraged. No one ever ignored it, least of all claim its cave like he owned the place. Oi punk, do you have any idea whose home this is? Do you have a death wish? Hiss. The venomous serpent got closer to Zhuo Fan and hissed in his face. Covering him in drool, it hoped to knock some sense into him with its almighty majesty. The girl was soaked from fear. Run, you fool, yet Zhuo Fan only had disdain in his eyes. He wiped the drool from his face and glared, behave. PFF, the venomous serpent almost spat blood. It had never met someone so full of themselves to ignore it and even belittle it. It was royally pissed. The girl was scared witless. You behave, brat. You're pissing it off by telling it to watch the door. I get you want to die, but could you at least do it down yonder? Some of us still need to get in, you know. The guy's brains are on the fritz, she sighed. She could practically see the kid torn into pieces by the angry, venomous serpent. And that was what the serpent was about to do. Holy friggin' balls, I've seen many dauntless, but none so boneheaded to not even care for their lives. They look for death, or better yet, they deserve death with such an idiotic stance. You're dead meat, so cut the act. Humph as you wish, this king will send you off. Licking its sharp fangs, the venomous serpent hissed and went on to swallow him whole. With how the red mouth was covered in poison, Zhuo Fan would find himself melting the instant he touched it. The girl closed her eyes and looked away. She couldn't bear the horror that followed. Yet Zhuo Fan was cool as a cucumber as the azure flame flashed in his eyes. A ripple racked the venomous serpent. Scared, the huge serpent froze in its place. He was soaked in sweat, even as his maw was right on top of Zhuo Fan, with fangs bared and all, and yet he just didn't chomp. The look in Zhuo Fan's eye got him so terrified, it started shivering. You're so feisty to not listen when you're ordered. Zhuo Fan shook his head as he went in like he owned the place, leaving the venomous serpent behind like a statue, scared and dumbfounded. What power was that? The serpent's heart was frantic. Spiritual beasts cared a lot about levels more than the strength even. A 6th-level spiritual beast's pup was no stronger than a 3rd-level spiritual beast, but no 4th-level spiritual beast would dare attack it. It was their inborn, majestic aura doing its thing. No low-level spiritual beast messed with a higher one ever. It was etched in their bones, blood, and the like. As a 6th-level spiritual beast, it was invincible here, a king lording over the masses. It had the right to pick on others, not the other way around. But it finally got his due in the form of Zhuo Fan. The guy flexed his power for a blink and scared the living daylights out of the snake. It had no clue what level of spiritual beast that power was equivalent to, but its blood told him to surrender and lay down all hostilities against Zhuo Fan. Damn it all to hell. What was that? He held such power that it made even a 6th-level spiritual beast shake in its own skin. What savage beast could have such power, and why is it with a human? Is he perhaps a dreadful beast's young? The venomous serpent was sweating buckets. It was just like a beggar meeting an emperor with only obedience in his heart. If it was told to guard the door, that was what it'd do. What was so bad about it anyway? It went to such an extent that the snake swam out of the cave and didn't even have the gall to look behind him, while the girl who had struck Zhuo Fan off as a dead man sneaked a peek all this time and was now dumbstruck. What the hell? Since when were vicious, venomous serpents so meek? It's not only not entering the cave, but was even posing as a damn watchdog. How in bloody hell did a bone-tempering cultivator do this? Does he also have a secret beast-taming art? The girl cocked her head, glancing at Zhuo Fan, going further in with amazement and more than a little curiosity. This brat isn't as dumb as he looks. He may very well not have needed my help with the 4th-level spiritual beast as well. Wait, if he's so strong and all, why is he hiding it? Is he planning to take it all for himself? The girl panicked and stomped in anger. Her wish to go in there herself was curbed by the venomous serpent guard at the door. This time she was close to blowing a gasket. She had wasted a month staking out this place, only to let another person reap the reward. I was hustled, she then pouted and slumped on the ground, sulking. Back to Zhuo Fan, the man in question soon arrived at the end of the cave. The view here shocked him senseless. The cave was your average hole in the mountain, opening into a room 1,000 square meters in size, but the dazzling scene was breathtaking. He came here for shaping spring and actually found so many high-grade herbs. There were 100 8th grade and at least 1,000 7th grade herbs. Such haul could contest with the 7 houses stores, if not even imperial families. Holy Mother of God. True wealth truly comes from nature. He assumed these were all gathered by the snaky, but why didn't he eat them? To last him through the winter? More for me, I guess. Without further ado, and not caring for the beast outside, he pocketed all herbs with a wave. He even went to every corner and made sure he didn't miss anything. Zhuo Fan cackled like mad for such a great haul. It echoed along the cave walls and traveled outside. Venomous serpent's heart sank and tears fell from his eyes. The girl heard the cackle as well and almost sank into depression. Those were supposed to be mine. Having already scouted the cave with her pet fish, she knew what a jackpot that cave held. She didn't tell Zhuo Fan about it in fear he'd want a bite as well. And now, he didn't just take a bite but swallowed it whole. The girl was wallowing in misery, tears threatening to burst out of her clear eyes. Whoosh, Zhuo Fan drifted around in the cave, waving his ring in every direction. He could feel joy bubbling out of him with every precious ingredient being tucked away in the safe confines of his ring. He just came to Beast King Mountain and had already made a killing. This is the best goddamn omen of all, Zhuo Fan cackled, his sound chilling the snake and human outside to the bone. After he had made sure nothing was left unappropriated, Zhuo Fan began his search for shaping spring in earnest. His soul sense spread to every corner, then Zhuo Fan rushed deeper. Standing next to a hot spring, he watched the bottom of the spring in shock. An all-natural hot spring. It was 10-meter wide and had hot water coming out from the wall in front. But what was truly amazing was the thick white layer at the bottom of it. Zhuo Fan knew right away that this was shaping spring. Isn't it a bit too much? Not even he had hoped to find so much of the underground miraculous treasure. Just a vial of the stuff could buy you a town. He'd be happy with just a bowl, but he didn't just get a bowl, he instead got a whole tub. He could literally bathe in it. Zhuo Fan shuddered from excitement. Thinking back on this mountain, he realized that only after billions of years of accumulation could have gathered so much of shaping spring. There would have been even more of it if not for a certain snake sampling it. This is enough as it is. Anyways, one shouldn't be too greedy. It's bad for health. Zhuo Fan chuckled at his egotistical thinking. Any who heard him would have spat blood. If you're not greedy, then the people in this world are all altruists. Humph, greedy pig, plop. With a laugh, Zhuo Fan jumped right in. He sank until the shaping spring reached his waist. Zhuo Fan quirked his eyebrows in glee. So deep, there was even more of the shaping spring than he thought was possible. Zhuo Fan went right down to business, taking out bottles and filling them with the stuff before throwing them into his ring. Zhuo Fan's face always sported that dumb grin throughout this ordeal, smiling from ear to ear. I hit pay dirt coming to this Beast King mountain. It's totally worth it even if I don't get that brimming sacred pill. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan's laughter echoed throughout the cave. Bam. While he was hauling his booty, he touched upon something. It didn't sound like a rock, but something hollow. He groped around blindly before taking out a blue vial. Zhuo Fan looked at it curiously. Why is there a vial here? Is collecting baubles another one of the serpent's hobbies? But the writing on it left him stupefied. My luck can't be that good, right? Did I actually stumble upon a brimming sacred pill? Yes, sir, the vial had those exact words on it. The cap even had a seal on it to not leak its fragrance and attract spiritual beasts. Zhuo Fan started flipping it. Fang Qiubai threw 5 such pills into Beast King Mountain at the start. This one must have flown through an underground river and chanced upon this place, with the snake totally oblivious of it. Zhuo Fan sighed. I'm so lucky even I'm scared. The odds of finding a brimming sacred pill among shaping spring was a true close to 0 chance. But was he one to waste such an opportunity? Hell no. He threw it in his ring and resumed hauling his loot. It took him half a day of grueling work to capture it all, down to the last drop. The venomous serpent outside was swimming around, peeved. Just what are you doing in my home? Couldn't you at least leave some for me? Wah, uncaring and unfeeling for the heartbroken snake outside, Zhuo Fan had no idea about the meaning of restraint. He took one last look at the spotless walls and nodded in satisfaction that he didn't miss anything. Woe was the poor snake. It was now a millionaire turned pauper, wrung dry by Zhuo Fan. If it had only seen this spotless place, it'd be crying his lungs out. Not that the greedy Zhuo Fan ever cared, mind you. Zhuo Fan now took his time to inspect the brimming sacred pill. He uncapped it and swallowed it. With enemies coming out at every turn in the esoteric debate, he was hard-pressed to find such leisure again, giving him enough time to refine the pill. It'd be best to stay in here, under the snake's watch, and grow stronger. Boom. An explosion of soul power happened the instant he swallowed it. As if a sea was unleashed in his head, his mind threatened to burst. Zhuo Fan never thought the pill would be so outrageously strong, finding it painful even for him to absorb such a vast amount. Nevertheless, he was happy as he channeled it into his right eye. With his soul at the radiant stage, increasing it a few more times would hardly help him in this battle. His focus was on reaching the divine eye of the void's second stage with the help of the brimming sacred pill. The first stage had incredible power and made him practically invincible, but the second stage was even more so, as it covered his deadly weakness. His victory in this final battle solely rested on it. Zhuo Fan's right eye burned hot as the golden ring in it flickered. Slowly, a second golden halo came into existence beyond the first. Even if blood spilled from his eye, even if the pain was excruciating, he braced for it and remained staunch. If he hadn't missed his chance in Dragon Cloud City, it wouldn't have been such an ordeal. But now, forced by circumstances, he chose to power his way through, multiplying his agony instead. He couldn't even spare the attention to care, though. Even as he bled from his eye, even as he was soaked in sweat, he still remained firmly seated on the ground. Over the next couple of days, Zhuo Fan was in constant frown and veins bulged on his forehead. He was still suffering through the pain and felt the breaking point drawing ever nearer. He reached his limit on the afternoon of the 3rd day. He was teetering on the edge just as the second halo formed in his right eye. An invisible wave shot to the skies the next moment. A simple glare actually made a small hole straight through the whole 500-meter-tall mountain above him like it was nothing. The bright sky, the warm sunlight passed through it and shined upon the gleeful Zhuo Fan. He was spent and weary but thrilled. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation, the power to break through any space. Even trapped in an array or space, he'd now have no problem blowing his way out, all thanks to a little help from something called Divine Eye of the Void's second stage. Ha ha ha, awesome. I am truly invincible now, Zhuo Fan cackled, but fell the instant he tried getting up. He guessed that he would have to wait as tending to his soul came first. A great deal of his soul power was used on breaking through, and it was now time to use the rest to cultivate. So he sat cross-legged again. The next day, his soul spread around and found everything to be far clearer. He realized the range had increased to 2 miles and flew out of the cave. He had struck the motherlode coming to Beast King Mountain. Whoosh, shooting out of the cave with a thunderclap, he ignored the snake and took to the skies. With his nemesis finally out, the venomous serpent shrank his size and entered the cave. The empty and spotless place left him wailing in rage. The hoard he grew throughout his life was gone, just like that. Even Shaping Spring was picked clean. He licked the hot spring and found not a drop remaining. The snake wailed, "He is worse than a bandit." But then he noticed the bright sky above and almost fainted from anger. "Blast it all to hell, have you no restraint? You already cleaned me out and now you go as far as punching holes in my home. What did I ever do to you? Wah!" Whoosh, thunder cracked across the bright sky, announcing Zhuo Fan's lightning-fast flight, his face pleased as punch. What was that saying? One good deed deserves another. Yeah, that's the one. I saved that annoying lass, and nature replied in kind from her bountiful bosom. I'll have to rethink my approach and spread kindness from now on, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan cackled. Then he spotted the same girl not far ahead. She figured he was going to take off and waited for him outside. "Oh, miss, do you need something?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Fuming mad, she said, "Hand it over." "Hand what over?" Zhuo Fan played dumb. The girl barked, "Shaping Spring and those herbs. Think I am so stupid not to realize what you've been doing in there. But I am a woman of morals, so I won't bicker. According to the laws of the cultivation world, half belongs to me by right. Bint no can do." Zhuo Fan shook his head. "You said giving you half is fair, but why would I ever do that?" The lady played the kicked puppy card. But I found it. First come, first serve. If it weren't for me, you'd never get them. So give me my fair share." The girl panicked. Zhuo Fan smiled. "Did you forget I saved you? To repay me, you showed me the treasury. Now we're even, bye-bye." Zhuo Fan left laughing, but the lady blocked him again with a snarl. "You damn bastard. Out of respect for saving me, I wasn't going to argue with you and split the haul evenly, but you just don't know when to quit." Her second layer of profound heaven cultivation exploded, glaring at Zhuo Fan with the clear intent to fight him over it. Zhuo Fan yawned. "Missy, power isn't always limited by cultivation stages. Once we fight, your hopes are dashed. Humph, damn egomaniac, enough bluffing. You may have subdued the 6th-level spiritual beast, but I'm no spiritual beast. I also know taming arts, and they only work on spiritual beasts. Stop trying to scare me, it ain't going to work." She then punched straight for Zhuo Fan's face. The fierce power of the fist came barreling down towards him, backed by her second layer of profound heaven cultivation. It had no effect on Zhuo Fan, however, still calm and uncaring as he vanished. The girl was left speechless. The next second she found her wrist yanked behind her back. "Ah," she then started crying from pain. "Why, you're breaking my arm, let go." Zhuo Fan shook his head and let go. She jumped 10 meters away and looked at him perplexed. How did he do that? He was clearly in the 9th layer of bone-tempering stage, yet overpowered a second layer of profound heaven cultivator in both power and speed. She felt like a mouse in the claws of a hawk. This doesn't make sense, it's too damn freaky. Only now did she recall Zhuo Fan's words. This guy is a bloody monster. The girl gnashed her teeth, and a flick of the hand revealed 3 roaring 4th-level spiritual beasts ready to pounce at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow curiously. "You're not half bad, I'll give you that. You don't see that every day, a lady having 3 4th-level spirit animals." He's scared. She stuck her chin out in her boasting. "Let me tell you, I have a dozen spirit animals, but these 3 are my most cherished ones, and they even know how to fly. I would have drowned you in my spirit animals if we were on the ground instead." Zhuo Fan looked at her oddly. Most people in Tianyu focused on personal power, with hardly any interest in rearing beasts. That made spirit animals a rarity. You were hard-pressed to find even high-stage experts having one, but this girl here was quite average in cultivation, yet had over 10 spirit animals. It was Zhuo Fan's first time meeting someone who specialized in rearing beasts. His odd looks, however, were taken as fear by the lass, who cackled, "It's too late to be scared now. But if your apology is heartfelt enough and you give me those items, I may be inclined to spare your miserable life. I will even forgive your earlier transgression, whatever gave you the idea that I'm scared." Did you forget how that 6th-level spiritual beast acted in front of me, just like a kitty, and you think some 4th-level spiritual beasts will do? Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan sneered. The girl snapped, see cut your boasting. Who knows what you really did to that serpent, but it can only be something similar to my own taming art, a soul attack. But these 3 pets of mine are linked with my soul. Their master's orders are paramount. It will be impossible for you to tame them. Oh, shall I give it a shot? Zhuo Fan snickered. The naked contempt he showed only earned her ire. Attack, show him your power, roar. The 3 beasts were extremely loyal, jumping on Zhuo Fan the moment they were given the go signal. Yet nothing could unnerve Zhuo Fan. The 3 were right on top of him, ready to tear him to pieces when his eyes flashed azure. And just like the 6th-level spiritual beast before, the 3 pets froze and started sweating like pigs. Mommy, who the hell is this big shot? Why is he so scary? Without further ado, the scared, witless beasts bolted with tail between their legs, swift as the wind. It took a long time for the truth to worm itself into the girl's mind, sheer absurdity of it all. She then shouted for her pets to come back. But would they listen? What master's orders were paramount? Life was infinitely more precious. Blast it, is the master's brain on the fritz? Why would we ever face such horror? To die? The girl shouted herself hoarse, but her pets were long gone, infuriating her. Then she sobered up and shuddered from fear. Zhuo Fan drifted towards her with his mocking smile. It seems being linked with your pets ain't all sunshine and rainbows. With the 3 of them horrified, their master is ought to feel some of that fear herself. Who the hell are you? The girl froze, watching him in horror. Now she knew why the 6th-level spiritual beast held this man in such fear, and her pets were no different. Because this man didn't use something as trifling as his soul to subdue them, but instilled a sense of utter dread in their very being, that even robbed them of the thought of fighting back. But how? Why would vicious beasts show such fear towards one simple man? Such a ludicrous story was never heard anywhere in the world. But this guy did it with ease. Just who is he? Zhuo Fan smiled and answered her doubts. I will one day rule this world. With a laugh and flap of his wings, he was gone. He left the girl shivering and staring dumbly in shock. This mystery man had tangled with her so many times and left her with a bone-deep impression. Those final words were etched in her mind. She would scoff if it was anyone else saying them, but for some reason, hearing them from Zhuo Fan made her believe he could do it. How could Tianyu have such a dreadful man? The girl was filled with trepidation. Whoosh. 2 black-robed men flashed in front of her. Lionel, is something wrong? One asked, while the other followed with, Young miss, are you all right? She only looked at them with fear in her eyes. Brother, Tianyu isn't something we can just attack. It's best that we fall back. Then her vision blurred and she fell unconscious. The 2 held her in worry, calling out to her. What did she mean?